Are you ready for the Low Blows Network? It's the show where you control what's on the agenda. Ask us anything and we're bound to answer. Starring Rick Nash, Corporate King, and the Queen of Irish Wrestling, Lady Hardy. It's Ask Low Blows.
Cards over heavy already there, Keen.
Alright, so it's a shit, sad intro because it's a shit, sad day in wrestling because, as I imagine you've heard at this stage, Shad Gaspard has passed away. He was just 39 years old, best known for being one half of Prime Time, which certainly if you're around my age, that's a big part of your childhood. He was a very entertaining, charismatic and talented wrestler, and while I never knew the man personally, the outpouring of tributes from those that did know him says everything that needs to be said. It's been widely reported at this stage that in his last moments he made sure that the lifeguard saved his son ahead of himself, which again says everything that needs to be said about him as a person. I've nothing else to say except rest in peace to Shad Gaspard, and our thoughts and condolences are with his friends and family. Do either of you have anything else you want to add to that?
Okay, that was a lovely intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do just want to point out that even people not your age, though, we still liked Shad Gaspard and Crime Time, even though we were teenagers at the time. Older teenagers.
That's what just like, yeah, Crime Time were like my childhood memory. I remember like 2006, 2007, you know, like around that era, like fucking gas.
Yeah.
It's a terribly sad thing, but like, it is lovely reading the tweets and stuff. Even Lance Storm had quite a sweet tribute to him, which was nice. I was actually just finding out lots of really interesting things about him. Like, I didn't know he became a screenwriter and stuff, and was pitching scripts and pilots and stuff. Yeah, he just seems like a really nice man, and it's just a really, really sad story. So, yeah, I think your tribute there nailed everything.
Yeah, you nailed it, Keane. Well done on that. It's horrible, and it's so frustrating. Like now to think, because we are getting like there are a lot of Fred Willard died, and there's a lot of like celebrities as well as like, you know, the people that we know and stuff dying now with a pandemic. So to hear something that's outside of that and that seems like preventable is kind of extra heartbreaking, especially someone so young who's still wrestling by all accounts, who had a kind of a life plan. He like had that script written about wrestling, which looks intriguing. And I saw his someone, like I think it's his partner, runs his Twitter account. I shit myself last night when I saw Shad Gaspard replying, and it was like 1 hour, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a fucking miracle. But no, it was his partner. Like, and she said that she's gonna work on finishing the script. Like, the only kind of way I can even think about this, that there's any kind of niceness to it apart from the tributes, is that like, if there's any one way that a lot of people would be okay like going, it's like in the kind of moment, as horrific as it sounds, it's like he went knowing that he just saved his son's life, and you know that's beautiful the way that he went. And like you said, it speaks to the man himself. And as horrific as those few final moments would be, we can take comfort in that he probably took comfort in that. He obviously did take comfort in that, knowing that his son was safe. So, but just horrific. Just there's no words that can kind of do it justice. It's a horrible news story in a period where we're becoming all too used to horrible news stories. And yeah, look, what more can we really say on it there?
Well, on the topic of Crime Time, I was in a PlayStation party with Butch a few days ago, OTT Butch, and he put it on Twitter, so he won't mind me saying it, right? But in his backyard wrestling days, him and a friend were a tag team, and they based themselves off Prime Time, except instead they basically used the same theme song, but instead of Brooklyn, they said, trim now, bringing the hood team. The funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. And with that in mind, and with a new podcast coming out as well, Marion Armstrong's putting out a new podcast, because why the fuck not? It's the lockdown. Don't backyard wrestle at home, I believe. Did I get that right?
Yeah,
I think I did. And basically, it's going to be wrestlers going to be going on and talking about, you know, their history as backyarders. So my opening question, I'm joined by Rick and Katie, by the way. You assume that, I imagine, if you're listening.
Who are you?
Phil,
who are you? This intro is amazing. Like, you're absolutely nailing this intro. What the hell? This is amazing.
Phil will be coming in, maybe at some point. We'll wait and see. But
yeah, I'm here.
he's here.
Oh shit! Okay, right. We have full house again. Then I'll start with Rick though. Rick, do you have any backyard what's your history with backyard wrestling?
I've loads of a history, but I want to do the podcast, so I'm not going to give it away here. No,
all right,
no, I don't really. I just remember being okay, like jobbing out. I remember, like, I was like, because I even when I play video games, when I play like wrestling video games, or when I play FIFA, I like to do it the right way. Like, I like to have a good wrestling match, or I like to, like, I don't like in FIFA you can win matches by like learning skills and cheats of the game and stuff like that, and a lot of people do that, especially as you get higher up in the likes of seasons and so on. But I like passing my way to victory and knowing that this would win on the pitch. So like I didn't mind losing in backyard wrestling because I preferred to just have a good match, even as like a spotty 13-year-old teenager.
You're so weird.
I know.
You're actually such a fucking weirdo.
I know. I'm aware of this. But that's the goal of wrestling. That's the idea. Like, I'm sorry that.
Oh, you want to win?
No, because that's not like that's just fighting in your garden. Like, it's not backyard wrestling.
All right, Katie. What was more important, winning or having a good match? Well, first of all, did you have a backyard wrestling career?
I didn't think I did until I was talking to my ma on Monday, and she was talking about getting a trampoline for the back garden, and I was like, why? Like, all your kids are grown-ups. Why would you get a trampoline now? And she's like, well, because I have a 2-year-old grandchild. I was like, oh, yeah. And she goes, we had to get rid of it last time because of you and your brothers. Do you not remember? And I was like, no. And she's like, I came back from shopping one day and you and your brothers are beating the shit out of each other on the trampoline. And apparently, as she got back, my 2 brothers had a leg each, like having me in a Boston crab. And she said that when they finally got me, I had trampoline burned down the side of my face. So the trampoline disappeared shortly after that, and I don't really remember having it in the first place, but I think that's the extent of my backyard.
Did you tap out though?
I remember your trampoline.
Do you?
Yeah, you had it recent. You had it up to like a few years ago.
How do I not remember this trampoline?
It was just gathering dust in the back.
I actually don't remember having a trampoline.
There's a photo of your dogs on the trampoline.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I remember it now. It's all coming back to me. I think the good time is more important, or an adequate time where you're not getting your face burnt off the bottom of the trampoline.
Right, Phil.
I have two.
You surely had a backyard career.
Career? My God, it was iconic. I was a 28-time European champion. So our backyard matches basically involved around the ring, the grass ring in St. Etna Road in Cabra. There's about 6 of us, and we'd all be The Rock, and we'd all be Stone Cold. Like, we weren't trying to be ourselves. It was just, right, I'm Stone Cold. And the objective of winning was to see who could hit the most stunners and or rock bottom combos. And really staying down was optional. Like, you could kick out at 27 rock bottoms and no one really cared. Like, you just kept going. The only way I actually learned how to win by just bear hugging people. So what I did was I would actually bear hug them until they tapped out. Nice. And that was it. Like, I didn't realize I was bear hugging them. I was even doing a bear hug backwards. So like they're backwards to my chest like Heimlich. And I would just squeeze them, basically. And that's that. I usually use that when I was getting annoyed them kicking out. I just picked them up and squeezed them, and then that'd be it. I played out in Finglas one time. My cousin and my 2 cousins were in the house, and same thing. We're pretend to be The Rock, pretend to be Stone Cold, and we're in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I run at one of the lads. He, I don't know, throws a clothesline. I duck. I go skidding on the tiles. I skidded. It was like a slide tackle. I skidded all the way to the other side of the room, tucked down the cabinet where there was these porcelain dolls at the top, right? Hits the bottom of the cabinet, thing comes crashing down. These 2 porcelain dolls just sort of smash, but not shatter, smash. So I remember just spending I just remember in tears, like thinking like, oh, I'm going to get barred, like with glue, trying to glue the head back onto oh, maybe she won't notice, and she never did. We put it all back together, we put it back up, and this poor doll had a glued on head like the statue in The Simpsons. I don't know, like the statue in The Simpsons, but like because it was chopped off, decapitated, we glued it back on, like put it back up there, and she probably found out eventually, but I made sure I wasn't going back around to the gaff anyway.
See, I just imagine like Phil now doing that. Like, I just imagine you being like the current you. It's like we're not talking about like you as a kid. It's like you now, like in a panic trying to like glue them all together.
Oh, that was yesterday.
It was like 5 years ago.
Oh, brilliant.
But yeah, no, I mean, like my backyard career personally was I didn't have like any sort of like characters or gimmicks. I just basically wanted to be Jeff Hardy, but I was too scared to do a flip, so like my finisher was a leg drop. And I remember this lad in primary school whose like parents didn't give a fuck. Like in hindsight, we'd have ladder matches and everything, like proper fucking ladder matches, and it's like, how the fuck, like, what if I like fell off and split my head open? Like, there's all sorts of like, I mean, fair play to them. They let us. At the end of the day, childhood memories are more important, aren't they? Like at the end of the day. So I don't know. Also, I was putting a Walls of Jericho one time, and I remember crying so loudly, and they were like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "No, like it's hay fever. Like my eyes are watering, like because it's summer." But yeah.
Nice.
Will we get into the questions?
Let's do this.
All right. Our first question comes in from @corporate_Kean, who says, "How does it feel weeks after your co-host called Tala the worst part in Dublin that Tala now has an open McDonald's with a drive-through while Blanchardstown has fucking nothing?" I saw your tweet earlier. I was like, "That's gas."
It's a fucking travesty. The square is just a shit plant centre, like. The square is a shit plant centre, and now it has an open drive-through.
It's a blank centre with a McDonald's that you can drive through and get your food.
How many days before the drive-through becomes a drive-by is what I ask. This is a mistake, and they're going to learn it the hard way.
Doesn't matter. You get chicken selects. Blanchardstown wasn't ready for the sophistication of Tala. You know what I mean? It's just that's why we get these drive-throughs. Anyway, just want to get it out of the way. It feels amazing. And now we'll get on to the actual questions. Dave Bandana. I once again have continued to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So what I'd like to know is, if you could each make soundboards for any 3 wrestlers, from the most famous to the trainees to Fight Factory, who would they be and why? So as somebody who doesn't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is that relevant, or is he continuing to just do the...
I don't know what a soundboard is.
Soundboard is, do you remember old radio shows used to always do prank calls with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was little sound clips where they'd have conversations with confused people. So it'd be like, "What is your name? Your clothes, give them to me. Who is your daddy and what does he do?" And it was just like, it's just you push buttons and they're little like sound clips of that person, like from movies and so on. So The Rock would be a great person for this. The Rock is the natural answer to this because his catchphrases were interactive catchphrases. So it's like, "What is your name?" And then they're like, "Well, my name is..." "It doesn't matter what your name is." You know what I mean? So that's what a soundboard would be like, and The Rock would be the main answer. Like, but do you know what I thought when I saw this? I'd love to have like a multiple. Like, I'd love to have, like, just loads of wrestler sound clips for one thing. Like, you could just get Justy where it's like, "Wrestling!" in the middle of a conversation. Or, like, in the middle, like, for no reason, you just have Lucha, and just, like, confuse people, but try make it make sense. So, yeah, I'd love to see just an amalgamation.
Okay, I have to think about this because I didn't understand the question. Sorry, Dave. If we need someone like, I don't know, Chris Jericho is an obvious answer, then probably lots of different like not just catchphrases, like eras of catchphrase. So yeah, there's lots to work with. Who'd be a fun Irish one?
Just
Troy Mendes.
Don't talk.
actually watched Dom Tuck's promo against Jordan again the other day. He reshared it on Twitter, and I was like, that was so funny and so ballsy. And I was like, I watched this live and I'm still cringing. Like, I'm still like expecting a different ending to that. Like,
for context as well, though, like for people who didn't see that, like who don't know the background to that story, I'm right in saying that Jordan had no idea that promo was coming, haven't they?
He knew a bit of a promo was coming. So basically, Dom had started to pick up lots of steam.
Yeah.
You know, just being funny and just like playing that character and stuff. And it got to the stage by the time it came to episode 3 or 4, I think. Like people were actually starting to chant for Dom and they wanted him on the show. So like I think Phil said to him like, look, will you do something small with Dom, because you know, and he explained to him like he's picking up steam, we think it'll get a laugh, blah blah blah. So like Jordan knew something was coming, but he didn't know the line, and the line was calling him nothing but a Funko Pop Finn Balor, which just killed in the moment.
So to add on to that, you want your Phil Rib of the week?
Go on.
Right. So all into this, right? And you have to remember, Dom, before we convinced Dom to like go down this like comedy route, Dom wanted to be a serious wrestler because that's what Michael was doing, that's what LJ was doing, right? And Dom was all like, no, I started with these guys, I'm going to be serious, I'm going to wear plain trunks and let my wrestling do the talking. And I was kind of like, look, Dom, like, you know, I think this is more suited to you, to be honest. And he basically was just crying out for a shot. So when I talked to Jordan, about it beforehand, I said, oh, by the way, I want you to do this small thing with Dom. So I gave Jordan like 3 or 4 weeks notice. I said, like, this is basically the plan. And but what I didn't tell was Dom. I told him, Dom, like, I worked Dom, like I said, like, Dom, I think you need to just like call out Jordan Devlin. And like we had LJ like say that's a great idea, like, so we put out that tweet calling out Jordan Devlin, and like Jordan was already wired to it, but he says like, I'm just gonna favour him. Like Jordan wouldn't talk to him, and so there's been a couple of things Jordan hasn't replied to. Everyone just started going back to him saying, oh, Jordan is pissed. Like I met Jordan on TNT, and like who is Dom Tuck, and why is he gonna like, and like what he's gonna do to him when he sees him, right? And like Jordan's late to the venue and everything on the day of the show, and we've already told Dom, like, Dom, look here, we're gonna have you like interrupt Jordan, like he doesn't know about the interruption. It'll be more pure that way, you know what I mean? It'll be the reaction will be more like, I mean, like Dom is like, well, like, should we tell him? And he goes, no, don't tell him, because then the reaction will be staged. We want real reactions, like, right? So like Jordan, I mean Dom is petrified for the whole day, right? Like, I mean, right as it goes, like he is absolutely terrified here. He's like he actually came up there at one point and asked, could he not do the spot, because he was he was actually that worried, like he was shaking to a point. And the best part about it was like, just so I'm reconvincing him and saying, no, look, you'll be fine. Like I don't think Jordan's that mad to begin with. Like he might find this funny. Like, and I'm like, I convince him, LJ convinces him. We're there, Jordan goes out, Sam goes out, and there's Dom Tuck in the fucking hallway. Like, he's just like, I mean, he's shaking. Like, he is this is his debut, by the way, so he's already a bit nervous. So he's nervous about making his debut, not messing up his promo, and the fact that he doesn't know how Jordan's going to react. Right? And then sure enough, like, I mean, I was starting to get legitimately concerned for him backstage, because he's proper, like, trying to amp himself up, like, you know what I mean? And then, in fairness to him, he walked out, cut an absolute killer promo, looked like a star. And then the rest is history. He pulled off such a good job that day that Joe Cabray that OTT stole the idea. And did a show.
Nice. That's awesome, though.
I don't know how I got on that tangent, but yeah, if you want to see the promo, go on to Dom's Twitter, at Dom Tuck, and watch the promo. It is very, very good and very, very funny.
I think we retweeted it as well, like if you're on our Twitter, so you can get it from there.
The birth of the mid-card mafia. Who would have thought they'd become so iconic? Yeah, I think mid-card mafia soundboards is going to work as well.
Amazing.
See, I'll circle it back to the question.
Oh yeah, soundboards. Yeah. I'm gonna say Bobby Lashley, because it's somebody with no catchphrases really. So you don't really know what you'd put on there, and that's what I like about it. It's the sheer randomness. So just be him saying random sort of average things that don't really have any sort of like comedy value. It's just sort of, you know what I mean, and like there's nothing to it, and that to me makes it better than a regular soundboard. You just don't know what's gonna happen. So, in like a real monotone voice as well. Like, it's just him chilling in his house. It's like, yeah. That's a soundboard.
It's just an effective soundboard. It works. Like
exactly. It's an interesting one. But thanks for the question, Dave. That got me thinking. At Simpsons WWE, what bands are you ashamed to admit they're still on your playlist? Got some cringy ass Limp Bizkit on repeat in the car all the time, but it's so good. Limp Bizkit isn't cringy if you're a wrestling fan. Yeah. If you're not a wrestling fan, Limp Bizkit is like the worst. But if you're a wrestling fan, it's the polar opposite. Yeah. I don't know. Katie, do you go around blaring Limp Bizkit?
Yeah, I genuinely do.
Yes, like,
I am notorious for having, and I'm doing air quotes, bad taste in music. But what I have is unapologetic taste in music. I listen to everything. I like, and I am not ashamed of it. I listen to Limp Bizkit. I listen to country music. I listen to like classic rock. I listen to like hip hop. I will listen to anything once I like it. Like, people should not be ashamed of the music they like. I've paid to see Cliff Richard in concert. I'm not ashamed of that. I've paid to see loads of other like random people in concert, and I'm trying to think if it would be the most random. Rod Stewart I've seen 3 times. Obsessed. I don't know. I'm not really kind of ashamed of my music.
If you want to talk about shame, I've got 2 answers. One is like, I listened to Eminem, his new album a few months ago. That became my gym thing. For a while, and then like after that, like when you listen to new Eminem albums, the first thing you go and do is listen to his old good stuff, and you listen to that, and it's like, it makes you feel a bit like weird, because he talks about like a lot of things you can't talk about these days, and it's like, oh, was Eminem okay? Oh, was he a good person? And it's just like, but the songs are still great, like, so it's just mixed feelings. It's just like, oh, I really wish he didn't say that line on the song so good. It's just like, it's very mixed feelings. But a similar thing, right? One of my favorite things when I went into fuck it mode, like when I was a DJ way back, if I'd be doing a party or something, it'd never be anything important. But like, so speaking of music that you should probably be ashamed of, Gary Glitter.
Oh,
Leader, right? So every now and then I just get bored and I throw on Leader of the Gang, and for 2 reasons. One, it is a good song. There's no, I don't support anything else he does. I'm not saying you should support him, but like, it's a banger of a song, and people immediately react to it because it makes them dance. But then I'd only play the first 20 seconds of it, and then I'd switch off to something else, because after 20 seconds you get that wait a minute reaction, and then you just move on to something else, and they don't know that it's happened. They can't register it quickly enough that they're like, did we just dance to a pedophile? So I used to enjoy doing that, just to wind people up and make them confused, because you could genuinely get that reaction, and then I just gaslight them if they can't. They're like, did you just play Gary Glitter? No, what the hell's wrong with you, you weirdo? Just completely gaslight them. So I just enjoy doing that when I get bored. But yeah, so those are music that you probably should be ashamed of, to be fair.
Yeah, well, when you put it like that, yeah, like, I wasn't thinking nonsense. I was thinking like, oh, people say Nickelback is uncool, you know?
I'm like you though. I'm unashamed. Like, I'd love, if the Backstreet Boys were in a concert, like, I'd go, like, do you know what I mean? I love the Backstreet Boys. I swear, like, they were my, like, I loved them when I was a kid. I know all the words. So I'm not ashamed of that. Like, they produced great songs. Like, I Want It That Way is a banger, and I won't hear anyone else say it. So I'm not ashamed of any music I listen to. But then I'm actually thinking, wait a minute, there is some things that are a bit shameful when you look at it from another angle.
I don't think I've got any. Well, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Katie, but like obviously, with the exception of being the Gary Glitters and all that. Yeah, I'd say like it's more stuff that other people would think is embarrassing, like, but it's clearly not. Like John Cena's album is all on my Spotify, and I play it over and over again, and it's really good. I'm not even taking the piss. I love it. I think it's fucking deadly. I have Nickelback on there. I've got fucking everything on there. I think like, a good variety is the way to have it, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know, but what are your embarrassing music tastes? Let us know. Thanks for the question, Simpsons WWE at @midget_mammy. Linda asked us favorite sandwiches. My bread and butter. That's it.
You eat bread and butter?
Not even like, no, I don't. That's the thing. But like,
so weird.
I could if I had to. Like, I have done in the past, but
would you not put chicken selects on it, like something you like?
No, because I don't like mixing chicken, like dinner food, and like bread. You know what I mean?
What about chicken fillet rolls? Do you not eat them?
No, we read Churches.
Yeah, I don't eat I don't eat rolls or like chicken rolls.
Yeah. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
That still mads me, like.
Yeah. Cheese and ham. I'm simple. Cheese and ham toasty. Butter both sides of the bread and put it in the. Do you know the special toasters you get, or the special sandwich toasters? Put it in them. Butter both sides of bread. It's amazing. And then just simple stuff. I'm not an adventurous eater. So keep it simple, stupid, and do the simple things well.
My favourites are two very specific ones. It's my Christmas Eve sandwich and my Christmas Day sandwich. So my Christmas Eve sandwich, I mean, I sometimes have them other times of the year, but like they're special.
Oh, that's cheating. That's cheating.
Well, no, my Christmas Day sandwich I only have on Christmas Day. My Christmas Eve sandwich, every year for 15 years, I have went to my local pub near my mum and dad's house, got smashed, come home and almost cried until my dad makes me what I call chunky cheese sandwiches. It's made with batch bread, which I don't eat at any other time in the year or sober, because it's horrible, but on Christmas Eve I insist. Literal chunks of cheese, and then cheese and onion hunky-dories and loads of real butter, and that's my Christmas Eve sandwich every year. My Christmas Day sandwich is the turkey from the dinner. Little bit of salt, lots of bread and butter, and nearly always like settled in front of the fire watching telly. And like, they're my two sandwiches.
Do you put gravy on it? Do you do a Ross Geller on it?
No, like I will act like Ross Geller about the sandwich, but not have what he has.
That's you on Christmas Eve when you're locked. My sandwich.
Well, that's what I'm like. And like last year, my dad was like, "Katie, you're really just getting too old. And I want my cheese sandwich."
Well, I have no expertise to add. So I'm just going to move on. Thanks for the question, Linda. At Column B86, if Scrubs started airing now, who do you think would be the most problematic character from a PC standpoint? For me, it's hands down Jimmy the overly touchy orderly. I've never seen Scrubs in my entire life, so I'm going to throw this one out to either of you, if either of you have watched it.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, people these days can find fault with nearly everyone in Scrubs. I'm rewatching it now a little bit. I reckon they would have a massive problem with how Dr. Cox always refers to JD by girls' names. And that kind of like gendered slagging. I can just see that causing a massive problem now. But I don't think they'd hate Dr. Cox because he's so good in other ways.
Yeah.
Couple of the secondary characters. Oh, who's in the band? Who's in Ted's band again? There's one of them, I think, that's... Oh, and the Todd. They would definitely have a problem with the Todd.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. Like, he was borderline back then, like. There's someone in Ted's band who I think would be in a lot of trouble. I can't remember who it is offhand.
See, I love Scrubs now, and I'm rewatching it, but I'm rewatching it from the start to go along with the podcast, which is excellent. Fake Doctors, Real Friends. It's Zach Braff and Donald Faison, and they get like all the cast members are guests, like they get everyone on, like already they're like 13 episodes in, and they've had like Dr. Cox, Elliot, the creators, like the best guest, like he's just hilarious, Bill Lawrence. So I'm rewatching it now. This is the thing, I'm only rewatching it for the second time. I love Scrubs, but it just, I don't know, because of rights issues I believe it was, and a lot of other things, that it never kind of caught on in the rewatchable type thing. So I don't have the inside knowledge like I would with Friends. So with that, like I'm only rewatching it now. It's on all four, by the way, for free if you want to get the app. So you don't even need a subscription to anything to watch it. But I'm only watching it. Do you know what I'm like realizing though? It does hold up a lot better than Friends does. Now I know Friends was a lot older as well, so there's that too. Like Scrubs only came on about towards the end of Friends, and that kind of took over as the big sitcom at the time. But it does hold up quite well, even in a lot of attitudes. Like there's a few things like that so far that I've seen in it that would be problematic. Like even the Todd, I don't think is, sorry, I coughed in the middle of saying problematic there. The Todd is problematic, but they also know that in the show. So like he's kind of, people react to him that way where he's weird. So like I don't think it's wrong to portray sexual harassment as long as you're calling it out, because that it happens, so you can't just deny it. There's one thing that I was a bit iffy with, one storyline where Elliot complains about to Dr. Kelso about she complains about how he calls her honey and loads of like things, loads of kind of female names, pet names, and she says that's not appropriate in the workplace. But then Dr. Cox admonishes her saying pick your battles, and that's the lesson of the episode. But even then, like that's kind of like nitpicky. It holds up really well. It's actually like one of these shows that you don't need to feel guilty for, at least so far, because I'm only 13 episodes into the rewatch. I'll watch another one tonight. It's my after show treat. But like yeah, like it's good. The Todd, for me, I can't remember a lot of the secondary characters though, because it's only my second time since it originally aired, because I followed it when it was brand new, like from the start, like. So yeah, it's been years, so that's me.
What about that Perry? Pretty problematic.
Perry from?
I just googled it. It's Perry.
That's
That's
Dr.
Dr. Cox.
Yeah.
Okay. Elliot Reed is what's is it?
Yeah, I suppose if there's anyone, she's got weird attitudes. I suppose, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. You know what I mean? So that's my answer.
It's a reach.
That's my answer, Colin. But thanks for the question, nonetheless. I hope I contributed in some way.
You said names.
I did say names, exactly. At Kento CCFC asks, for me personally, a fucking piss easy question, but a question I love. Nonetheless, you can bring back a dead character from a TV show of your choice, but you have to kill off another of the main cast to take their place. What's your choice and why? The Walking Dead, right? The Walking Dead, yeah? Do I get to kill off? Do I choose who I kill off, yeah? And choose who I bring it back? Yeah. Kill off Maggie. Don't care. She's so moany, you know what I mean? Like, oh, my husband got his head caved in. Like, yeah, all right, it's bad. It's bad. Don't get me wrong. Awful thing to happen. But, like, come on, like, lighten up. Just real moany, you know what I mean? And Negan's sound now anyway as well. So, like, just go away, like, let him do his thing. So I'd kill her off. And I'd bring back in a heartbeat T-Dog. That lad had the fucking keys to the kingdom. The zombie apocalypse would be over now if he was still alive. He was saying, lads, let's go to the coast. And they were like, no, let's go to a locked-up prison. And surprise, surprise, he died in the prison because he had to do what fucking everyone else wanted him to do. If he was the leader, if we all follow T-Dog, there wouldn't even be a show now because it'd all be healthy, happy, and safe. T-Dog was a legend. I fully endorse him. And they should absolutely bring him back and kill off Maggie. That's my opinion. Rick, is yours Walking Dead related, or do you have another thing in mind?
It's not the Walking Dead related. Though that's a strong argument. I feel like I don't want to rewatch the Walking Dead because there's a lot of crap in there. But like,
it's long.
You make me want to like pay more attention to T-Dog because I don't think I appreciated him enough when I watched it for the first time.
Imagine the reunion, him and Carol as well. After he like sacrificed himself for Carol, and she's still alive, so they could meet up and they'd be like, and he'd be like, and then they'd be killed. I love that.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, you've definitely sold me on T-Dog being more than just a crappy character, which is what I thought of him first. So fair enough.
Wow.
I would reverse the result of Oberyn Martell against the Mountain in Game of Thrones. So I'm just doing it in one fell swoop. I just reverse that, because as good as the Mountain against the Hound was in the last series, like, that was it. That was all we got from him, and we lost one of the best characters in Game of Thrones for that. Like, now, it was an epic death, don't get me wrong, it was epic, but even then you could have done that in an epic way, because you didn't expect Oberyn to beat the Mountain. So, like, so you could have done an underdog David versus Goliath story and had Oberyn win and done something equally epic on the other side. And we lost one of the best characters. And also, as well, as far as the TV show goes, though I know the books are different, but the books show how interesting Dorne could be. Whereas as soon as we lost Oberyn, there was, like, Dorne was crap. There was no, like, even the scenes they had in it, they were shit. It was the worst part of the show for a couple of series. And we lost that because we lost the most charismatic guy. So I'd have loved to see a Game of Thrones where Oberyn survived, and I could live in a world where we don't get the Mountain against the Hound. I'm okay with that. I suppose we might get to see the Hound survive towards the end then, and that'd be even better. So I'd be happy with that result. That's the one for me.
Yeah, that was one I was thinking of as well. As well, I would reverse. See, I don't know who I'd kill instead, right? But I would not have the mother die in How I Met Your Mother, because for me, that ruined the entire last season. And I know they kind of backed themselves into a corner because they filmed those last few scenes first, like while the kids were still the same age. So I think they had to go with Ted and Robin as the couple in the end. But, like, the mother was actually a really cool character, and she was really nice and she was really sweet, and it just seemed like such a waste to have like 8 seasons building up to her and Ted's marriage to have her killed off in an episode and then have him back with Robin. You know what I mean? It's like, it pissed off a lot of fans. Other than that, my other big one, and I know this moved the entire series on, but have you seen Sons of Anarchy?
No, yeah. But a lot of people have.
Opie from Sons of Anarchy. I think he was killed in like the first or second season, and like his death is like a catalyst for how the main character acts for so many seasons after. But it was so sad and so cruel. I still can't get over it. I still haven't rewatched Sons of Anarchy, and I probably won't rewatch that episode. Remember that when Opie dies? Oh, heartbroken.
So who would you kill then?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, a lot of them just die in Sons of Anarchy anyway.
Kill someone who survived. Who was there till the end?
Who was there till the end? Gemma.
Tig.
Spoilers! Jesus!
Oh.
Tig,
the Scottish dude.
Yeah, Chib. No one cares about Chib. We'll kill him.
The intern was there till the end.
What?
Chib,
and then
that's a Scottish lad, yeah?
No, Northern Irish. If we kill Chib, then we don't have to go to Belfast for that season.
Oh, that was gas. That was the funniest season by far. The accents were just... Oh.
As an Irish person who has actually visited Belfast, you're just watching being like, has anyone on this set ever left America? Like, have they ever spoken to a Northern Irish person? Like, this is ridiculous. It was like, not only did they travel across the Atlantic Ocean, but they did it in a time machine, because it was not good when they went.
That's exactly what Belfast is like.
Yeah, okay, Sons of Anarchy and How I Met Your Mother. That's what I'm saying.
Solid.
Well, Kento asks another question. Also, what lighting did Phil get for his board? I'm looking for one for mine.
Phil, what is the name of that monstrosity in the kitchen?
Tell him if he wants a really good light for his board, I have a mate who does them for €40, and that's cheap because I spent like 120 on mine.
Are you serious? Because I spent 120
on yours. Okay, spent 120. Tell him to message me on Facebook or Twitter, and I'll Facebook, and I can put you in contact with the lad that does them if you really want one. And they're good lights as well. They light up your board.
There we go.
There you go, Kento.
Take up so much room you can't shut your door in your kitchen anymore.
No, this one's tiny. It's only the size of a clock.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know whose word to take on that. Yeah, there's going to be a scrap.
Oh, God. First ever domestic on Low Blows.
Kento, this is all your fault. Thanks. You can choose to take Katie's word or you can choose to take Phil's. It's up to you, but at least now you know what to do. And thank you for your questions. At Spodino90, €1 million. But right as we're about to hit phase 5 of the roadmap and resume some semblance of normality, you've got to go right back to day 1 lockdown, 2-kilometer radius lockdown, and stay there for a year. If you break any lockdown guidelines, you lose the money. Do you take it? So there's a few things to this question that I need a few little. I probably should have asked them before reading it out. But so first of all, if we're back on lockdown, does that mean thousands more people are dying?
Yeah, there's that.
I
can't take the money.
I think just answer from a selfish point of view and don't think about potential reasons why.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll put it this way. If it's just, could I do the lockdown? Like, could I live under these, restrictions
conditions?
For a million? Yeah. Yes.
We'll go with that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
But so I wouldn't take the money. So with thousands of people dying. But if it was just me that had to deal with it, yeah, definitely.
I don't think that guy understands the value of €1. Like, I don't think he realizes what €1 million can do for someone. Like, if he's talking about just
expert, to be fair.
Like, I would take that €1 million. I would just pimp out my gaff with an Xbox, a PlayStation, every single game I ever wanted, and ride that baby out in the highest of comfort.
But like, you have to understand, Phil loves being locked down. Like. Like he has flourished. He has thrived.
Lads, I was stuck under a rut. Like wrestling wasn't as fun. I was constantly having to take training. Like, I was in work. I was getting stressed by work. Now all I want to do is wrestle again, and I don't care about work. I just care about going for my runs and having a beer.
Nice.
I'm slightly on the opposite. I've had some rough lockdown days, so I probably wouldn't take it. Like, we're very lucky. We live very close to Phil's family, so we've been able to keep in touch with them. But I live like an hour away from my family. So for me, I don't think it'd be worth it. I would let Phil do it, get the $1 million, and then I would take half of that as is my right.
Wow.
Nice. That's a solid answer. That is a solid answer. I went through this both ways where, I went through it. If it's like, if it's only I have to go through the lockdown, then I take the money. I'm in the swing of things in terms of the lifestyle itself. Like, look, it's been awful, and and again, the uncertainty of the world and stuff like that. But if the world is going back to normal and only I have to live through the restrictions, like, my day-to-day, I'm used to it now. It's just what I do on a daily basis. It's not great, because I have to put a lot of things on hold, and a lot of plans and so on. But also as well, consider that I'm going back to the start for only, say, 3 months. I'm not going back to day one. It's not the day one lockdown that I have to go back to for the year, is it? I have to go back through the stages. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, but it's for a year.
I have to go back to day one lockdown rules for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And presumably it'll be day 1 for a year, and then you're just free to go.
Okay, so there's not the 5 stages in that where after 3 months I get to see my mates again.
I assume not. No.
Okay, right. Okay, then that's different. But I think I could do it for a year. It'd be a tough year, but I think I could do it for a year. And also as well, you have to consider that part of the struggle of lockdown is not knowing when it ends. Do you know what I mean? So, if you know that after a year, my life is going to be back to normal and I'll have $1 million, I could live this way for a year. Yeah, I'm mentally preparing myself to live this way for a year if need be. You know what I mean? As it is, so I could do it. I probably would on balance, but again, it's the same kind of contingencies as Keen would have.
I could do it, no bother. The piss easy. Yeah, I'll take that money. This is the lifestyle for me. But yeah,
Keen is thriving as well.
I'm not happy with the circumstances, obviously, for the surrounding it, but the actual, the life itself. You see, we're all different, and this is just what works for me.
Yeah.
So I'll take the money, Chris. Thank you. At Irish Slam Dan, Bit of controversy over Rob Pat not working for new Batman while in lockdown. His first question is: does it really matter if the story is good? And is there an equivalent example in wrestling of getting the main event slot but not being arsed about being ready?
Do you know what this means, Keane?
I don't know what I just read.
Okay, so Robert Pattinson is the new Batman, and he did an interview with GQ magazine last week where basically he came out and said that they're sending him loads of exercise tips, and he has to do workout programs because he has to get jacked for it, and he's saying he's not doing any of it and he's not going to get big, even though that's the expected look of Batman, because he's saying that the problem with it is that, like, the only reason people expect that is because that's what other actors have done, but it actually doesn't matter if he's jacked. He's not going to fuck up his body. He's not going to fuck up his body for that. Like, that's the argument that he's making. He's not going to fuck up his body because there's a lot of, like, dramatic things, because, like, Christian Bale had to do a really unhealthy weight gain where I think he nearly died, because he went from doing a role where he was really skinny into having to do one which is where he's, like, jacked to fuck, like, and it wasn't healthy, and he's spoken about it before, and there's a few others who went through similar kind of rough transitions. It's difficult to put on that weight and get that jacked in a short space of time, even if it's the only thing you have to do. So that was Robert Pattinson's contention, which I thought was interesting. So that's the basis that this question is based off.
Just hire a big thick actor then, you know what I mean? Like, fuck that. No, I'm not, you know, again, I've never seen Batman, but I'm in the camp of it doesn't matter if the story is good. I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to see actors fuck themselves up or something like that. I'd rather just, I don't know. I mean, we live in a world of, like, CGI and stuff, you know what I mean? Photoshop and all that. Just make them look jacked. What happens in my head of, like, a fucking 7-year-old being Batman, just like, like, hi guys,
I'm the Batman.
Yeah, like, it won't be that bad, like, you know what I mean? I'm sure it'll be all right.
Oh, brilliant!
Like, it's definitely the casting director's fault.
Really?
Like, who hires Robert Pattinson as Batman? Like,
it seems like it's a conversation that should have happened before contracts were signed. Like, because on one hand, I completely understand about, like, you know, like, kind of reforming people's expectations on, like, how people should look and all that. Like, but on the other hand, I'm like, Batman is a superhero. Like, there's a precedent for Batman, and this is what people expect to see. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like Robert Pattinson is actually right for the role, or they just did not discuss this, or maybe people just presume when you hire Batman they want to get in shape.
I'm gonna take what you just said. So take exactly your sentence, but replace the word Batman with divas.
So repeat that.
Did I just break you?
Yeah, you did.
Do you see what I mean? No, that's the argument he's making.
But also, it's different as well, because divas is supposed to encompass all women in wrestling. Mm-hmm. But Batman is one singular superhero. Yeah. Like, it's a specific character.
It's a fair argument. I'm not taking a stance on it either way. Like, I'm just, like, kind of broadening it out.
Like, I think if it was anyone but Robert Pattinson, I would have less of a problem with it. But to me, it just seems like I signed this contract with an expectation for all this money, and then I'm just not going to fulfill it. Whereas if he'd said it beforehand and been like, look, if you want me to be Batman, this is the kind of Batman I want to portray, and then signed it, it wouldn't bother me at all. But I just feel like they didn't have this conversation until contracts were signed.
I'm like, Robert Pattinson particularly.
Pattinson.
I don't care. I'm going to get to the point where I don't care. He's a point of contention for me. Right? Okay. Does everyone remember that picture he brought out like 2 years ago where they were comparing, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's He-Man and then him with his top off, with his hands on the back of his head? Everyone see that, and his little gut hanging out, like. It's a real scrawny picture, like, and like, I'm not like, I just saw that picture, I just thought he is the worst kind of human being, like, because I'm like a man, I'm not saying I'm the man, but like, I portray everything that I think, like, I don't know, you know what I mean, don't you? Like, I like
doing man fitty smash.
Yeah, I like doing man things, right? And then I saw him doing these, like, stupid, not like. It was a very feminine photo, like, and it's like, it was just disgusting.
I don't think you actually think the Robert Pattinson.
I was, yeah, I remember comparing the two of them, like, it was straight after Twilight. Anyway, you can go Google the picture, but ever since then, I've just had no time for him. And when I actually saw him get Batman, I said, well, that's just Batman ruined. Because he wasn't even good in Twilight being a vampire. Like he was glittery and stuff like that.
But that's how vampires are written in Twilight.
He even made vampires not intimidating. Like he's the most unintimidating man in the world. Like I don't know why he was hired. Like if I saw him down a dark alley, I would rob him. Like, you know what I mean?
They're actually Batman with Twilight and Bruce Wayne is going to sparkle now and stuff like.
I don't like him as an actor. I don't like him as a person. I think he's
I don't think, he doesn't connect with you. You can put it that way.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You give the PC answer there.
No, that's fair. I'm in the give it a chance. As far as Batman goes, like again, if this is a great Batman movie. And if he could, like, here's the thing. The amount of times we've had preconceived notions coming into movies and the amount of times we've come out of them going, that was amazing. And often it happens with the movies that we're going into it thinking this is going to be shit. And often the opposite happens where we go in thinking this is going to be the best thing ever and then it ends up being shit. Like the last Star Wars being the most recent example of that. So I'm one of these that, like, I won't make my mind up until beforehand. I don't have mad strong feelings on Robert Pattinson. I really don't like Twilight, but I really do like Harry Potter, and he was in that, so like it balances out. So I don't know. He was Cedric Diggory. And he was manly in that. To be fair, he was alpha dogging Harry all the way. So I don't know what happened to him in the few years. They haven't been kind, but like, I don't know.
It looks tough when you're bullying a 10-year-old.
To be fair, yeah, but it's also the chosen one 10-year-old, so there's an asterisk there. Like,
oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah, like Liverpool's title, right?
Like Voldemort couldn't bully him, but Cedric Diggory could, you know. So like it's much of a muchness, like. But anyway, no, I'm up for giving it a chance. In terms of wrestling, someone who really wasn't ready for. No, because like people who like didn't have the correct kind of body image, the non-traditional body image, that was part of why they got where they got. Because in wrestling, you don't tend to get places until you click, but you don't have to have a certain body image. So look at Mick Foley, for example.
I don't think he means it in a body way. I don't think he means it in a body way. I think he just means in general somebody in the main event who wasn't ready, like in terms, it could be wrestling ability, charisma, you know what I mean, things like that.
I'm about to throw out a controversial one then, because I've just thought of someone if we're not taking body into account. Brock Lesnar wasn't ready. Brock Lesnar had the problem, and this is why WWE do 50-50 booking, and it doesn't get spoken about, and it makes a lot of sense when you put it this way. Brock Lesnar had the attitude of, because he was given everything really early into his career, he'd completed wrestling within 2 years of being called up to the main roster. He had literally completed and quit wrestling. He started the night after WrestleMania in 2002. He quit in WrestleMania in 2004. He had done everything there is to do in those 2 years. That is why it's too soon to give someone championships at a level. You don't kind of instill the need for, like in WWE or in any wrestling company, if you're pushing someone at that level, you're making an investment in that guy, and that person should ideally appreciate that investment. They're not obliged to, but they should appreciate that investment. And they should give it back and want to commit to the company as well. Whereas if you give it to someone young and naturally talented, they're just going to take it as an ego thing where they're like, I'm better than everyone, I've already finished this, bye. And so Brock Lesnar, in that sense, he didn't give a shit about wrestling. He left it 2 years in. He went to pursue actual dreams he had. He made his money and got to come back. So he's my pick for someone who wasn't ready to be a champion.
I don't know. Because of our WCW rewatch, maybe Lex Luger kind of falls into the same category for the same sort of reason.
Wait, did he win the world title?
Sorry.
What?
Spoiler. Like we're still in 1995, and it's just like
a 20-year rule. Come on, like
he's being carried through matches by Macho Man and stuff, and anytime he has to wrestle someone not of that quality, you can really kind of see how not ready he was for that spot. And even though he'd been in WWF at that stage, he's just, I don't know, it's just pushed too big too soon.
I'm still laughing my ass off here at the fact that Phil Boyd just got spoiled about Lex Luger winning the WCW championship on this show. That's amazing. Oh, that's a very good answer, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really. I forgot to think of this question. Maybe David Arquette. Was he ready?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was hoping. Surely in WCW, there's a million different champions in like 1 year alone. Could you give me like another one who wasn't ready, so I could just take that as my answer?
In WCW.
Yeah, someone random.
But like, they were all ready because WCW is great.
Oh.
Fair enough.
Can I rewind a bit?
Go ahead.
Can I rewind a bit just to give you an edgy answer?
Go on.
Right. So I always thought this at the time as well. I never thought CM Punk did enough to be the world champion.
Ooh, okay. I'm listening.
I have reasons, all right? Because when he got that belt, anyone could have done the pipe bomb promo. I believe that in a heartbeat. Like, that's the easiest thing you can do, is just take a jab at the office. Like, it's like, I think any mid-carder could have had that promo and done it, right? Now, he got it, and that's fine, right? I was just more upset about when he started calling himself the best in the world. And you could tell he sort of believed it. And he was on the same show and having the same matches with people like Daniel Bryan. And I think the two of them are like uncomparable. I think you had two people who were the same height. So it wasn't as if it was like the 6 foot curse. Like, he wasn't 6 foot, so that's why he should have got the belt. Yeah. The thing that annoyed me about CM Punk was that, first of all, every time he went up to do an elbow drop, he tended to climb up on the wrong turnbuckle, and you wouldn't know what he was going to do with the good hand or the bad hand, right? My second thing was that the only thing that made him look anyway like tough was his tattoos. Like, if you look at him from a body point of view, and I know we sort of skipped past that, but he was like scrawny. Like, he had a little pot belly. He had like very undefined body, and like, I just think when you're comparing yourself to be the best in the world, and even you had Daniel Bryan, who was ripped, like all right, he wasn't 6 foot, but at least you could see definition of muscle on him. Like, I just thought like CM Punk was just the most unintimidating champion ever. Like, you know what I mean? You just didn't have any muscle, you didn't have any depth, and even in the ring, bell to bell, I don't think he was even on a level with some of the guys. Like, but that's why I'm always very contentious about what CM Punk did, and I think CM Punk was a really big overachiever. He got more in wrestling than he ever should have. Like, now that's going to drive people crazy because they all love CM Punk, but that's straight up as how I saw him at the time, not even looking back. Like,
spicy hot take. I love it.
It's edgy.
You're a big Twitter edgelord, you.
Phil Boyd shoots on CM Punk.
I hate super kicks and Canadian destroyers too.
Love it.
I like CM Punk. I don't know, for this answer, I'm trying to like think of other promotions. Thinking of Impact. You see, like, I thought just because somebody, it's not like I'm gonna pick one that I remember from watching Impact back at a time when no one else really did, like around 2014, I think it was. Eric Young had the Impact World title, right? And Eric Young, I don't say that Eric Young's not ready, but it's just the character that he had at the time was literally Daniel Bryan light. It was like bearded underdog, defies authority and gets the title. And Dixie Carter was the Stephanie McMahon in the situation. So it was kind of like we're doing the exact same thing they're doing, but not as good. And like, I'm not saying Eric Young necessarily, like, as a wrestler wasn't ready, but I just feel like the character and the whole kind of story itself, I just don't think it should have happened personally. But that's pretty my answer. Thanks for the question though, Dan. At Rian _no_ numbers. This is mostly for Phil, but if anyone has any dream matches based on this question, that'd be great. Rian, trust me, I do. I'll read out the question first, right? If there was any dream matches from anyone on the AWR tours at all, legends included, versus any Irish wrestlers today, what would they be? So AWR, right? That was actually the first 2 of the first 3 shows I ever went to, were AWR shows. They were the 2 Tala shows that I did in the Basketball Arena. So I was a big AWR fan back then. AWR Ultra at the age of 10. And I remember, who the fuck? I wanted, like, now looking back, I would want Heidenreich versus Liam Royal. I want X-Pac versus LJ Cleary.
Oh.
I want Sabu versus Katie Harvey in a death match. I want I want Sandman versus Session with Martina.
Yes.
There's definitely another one I wanted. There's definitely one more that I'm not thinking of. But
RVD.
yeah, Hill is the person. I was thinking Rob Van Dam. I take Rob Van Dam versus, I don't know. Could be a good one. There's a load of good ones you can put against Rob Van Dam. It's kind of hard to sort of.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Have you had Rob Van Dam versus Devin yet?
Ooh, that'd be good.
So on one of the tours, on one of the nights of the tour, Sean Guinness is on early in the show, and Rob Van Dam's main event, and Shawnee goes up, wins the match with a frog splash. Boom. I'm like, oh, this is deadly. This led to like RVD coming out, like grabbing the mic. He wasn't calling promos, I don't think, and he grabbed the mic and says, "Yeah, well, you guys might have seen a frog splash, but are you ready to see a 5-star frog splash?" And then come to the shoulder, and I was just thinking, oh my god, I can't believe he was getting real self-conscious because Sean gets the frog splash anymore.
That's a great match. Those two is a great match.
Oh, that's what they were trying. Like that's what we were hoping for. Like I was like,
Right.
oh, would it be great? Like if like Joe and Jamie Coleman were booking it. Like I was like, wouldn't it be great? Like if they just booked Mac, if they booked Sean Guinness versus RVD in one of the future shows, like that would have just been it.
Love it.
I think after the story last week, I want to see Psycho Sid Vicious against Dom Tuck.
Jesus.
All right, Katie, fucking hell.
Mixed episode for Dom Tuck. It's like he's a get a soundboard, but he should also die. It's like we've got enough quotes from him. Now feed him to Sid. Jesus.
I'm trying to think who else is on those tours.
Bret Hart was on them at one stage, wasn't he? So you can get a lot of
Bret Hart versus fucking Michael May. Prime Bret Hart versus Michael May. That's what that was.
Oh my god, that's a match. Great show.
I got to work merch on the last AWR tour, and that's how I got to meet Bret Hart.
Nice.
It was really cool. I was like, Joe, can I do Bret's merch? And he was like, oh, yeah, go on. So I got to stand beside him for 2 hours holding his 8x10s.
Nice.
Yeah. Rhino was on them as well, wasn't he?
Some of them, yeah.
I always enjoy Rhino matches. Who'd be good against Rhino?
Liam Royal.
Martin Steers and Rhino. I don't know why.
Okay.
That'd be gas.
I've never thought of that.
There was some really
Clon
good matches.
versus Joey Legend.
Joey Legend and Rhino against Club Rock Shandy.
There you go. It's the one we're all thinking of.
Guys, did you?
When you asked my question, I assumed that's the answer you thought you were going to get. But yeah, there you go.
That's what you're getting.
Did any of you guys see Joey Legend's last match with PWU?
No.
I should go back and watch it, man. Like it's a train wreck.
Wrestle again?
Oh, really?
I think it was Brian Core.
I've told him about the merch table. Do you remember his merch table?
No.
Where me and I can't remember who was on the merch table with me. I think it might be Karen, and we were having a look through his merch, like helping set it out and stuff. And there was a self-published erotic novel by Joey Legend.
We need to find that. We need to find that. We need to do an episode of Joey wrote a porno.
Oh my god! I've just started listening to My Dad Wrote a Porno. That's amazing. That's exactly what we should do.
We need to. That's gonna be. There's your intro for next week, sort of. At the next 20 weeks, sort of, Keen. Just a chapter every week. Oh, brilliant.
Would you believe? Oh no, there we go. Right. Well, yeah. So, do we have? Is that it for our AWR dream matches? I think we've built up a pretty solid card there. If you ask me. Thank you for the question, Rian. At it's Laura B83. If there's one match you could wipe from wrestling history, what one would it be? Well, it's not really. Well, what do you, Katie? What's your answer to this?
My one is controversial because since chatting to people, I found out a lot of people really love this match. But I would wipe Edge versus Randy Orton from WrestleMania because that is not the Edge return match I wanted. And I feel like and this is exactly why they're doing the storyline backwards, because the match they're having on the next pay-per-view is being billed as the greatest wrestling match of all time. So they did the last man standing match, the big feud-ending grudge match, before they did the technical wrestling match. Yeah. And so I would wipe that match, and I would wait till there's crowds again, then have Edge and Randy Orton in a wrestling match, and then have the last man standing match.
Yeah, but Katie...
Right, okay.
It's my fantasy.
Wait, no, hang on. No, but Katie, right, hang on. So my answer to this is D'Lo Brown versus Droz, because I don't want to see a man get paralyzed, but you choose Edge versus Randy Orton because, I didn't get the return I wanted. Okay, Katie.
Obviously, like the music question and the nonsense, I wasn't thinking about it like that. But realistically, then you could say any match where somebody got injured or hurt or whatever. So fine, I'm not going with the tag match.
I'm not going with the tag match if that's where you're going. The Katie Harvey Veda Scott tag match. We're keeping that there. But,
I could have said that, but I knew you'd all be like, "Oh, her elbows." So I deliberately didn't mention that match.
There's nothing you can say where I won't slag it off for something else. But it is, you know, you could answer this in one of two ways. I went with the serious one because I actually couldn't think of another answer. But Rick, do you have any, do you go the serious route, or
I'm going to go with another alternative route, and I'm going to wipe one of my own matches from existence. Could probably do a few if I really thought about it. But I am going to wipe the Battle of Blanche from existence.
No.
Like you realise it's not actually going to be wiped.
You can brought so much joy to people.
That's the problem, right? Because this is the thing, right? It's like, I don't. To be honest, I don't mind. I don't care. I don't care these days. But like, it's horrible, like, because it was like I think it was my second ever singles match, and the only reason that it was covered in a little college documentary and went viral as a result of being shit was because I was the only person in the school the night that they were doing auditions, quote unquote, for who they cover in this documentary who could cut a half decent promo, and so that's why they ended up picking me. But I wasn't ready to be picked. But also as well, if someone comes up to you like and says in your second singles match, at that stage you're like, I've been training for X amount, I'm ready. But like, really, you're not. Like, and as a result of it, like, it's not like because we didn't grow up in an era where stuff was taped. Like, that's the match that people now know me for. But like,
wait, Rick, do you think after the Battle of Blanche, RVD came out and was like, "You've seen a frog splash"?
Where's he going with this?
Do you remember your panic when after I'd broken my arms, I text you to say we were having an Irish wrestling night in my house and we were watching that match?
Yes, I remember. Oh my God.
You were just like, why? Why do you have that?
The comments are so vicious though as well. You can't watch the match and not look at the comments. Like, they are vicious. It is horrendous. And like, I'm a child at that stage. I'm like 17. It's my third match total, like second singles match, and like, yeah, Jesus Christ, like, so yeah, the fact that that's all I've pretty much all that's actually out there of me is pretty shit. Like, so I'd probably wipe that, but don't worry, I can't. It's an imaginary question, so you can still fucking watch it, you pricks. Oh God, yeah, no, bad times.
What? Yeah, fuck. That's actually a great question. Thank you, Laura. And at Chloe_Lynch, what Irish wrestlers can you see becoming champions when wrestling is back? That's an interesting one. Straight away, I'd go with OTT tag team titles. I'm going to go with like more than hype for that. Ooh. Maybe even the True Pros, because if they don't win the tag titles down the line, even like in Fight Factory they could win it, or like Liam Royal could win like the Fight Factory singles title. You know what I mean? I see gold in the True Pros like near future. Be Cool maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe like the women's title. Well, not Katie, but maybe like Raven or someone.
Amy Alonso.
Amy Alonso's definitely picking up gold when we get back wrestling.
Yeah, that's a good shout as well.
Think about this.
Yeah.
Like, there's a good chance the Midcard Mafia one day will be Irish Tag Team Champions, and imagine how the roof is going to explode.
Oh man!
When that happens, there's a not impossible chance that Dom Tuck could end up getting to the stage of virality and performance as well, because like his matches are like proper getting over and starting to become a highlight of the card. So think about this. There's a possibility that Dom Tuck could be an Irish Junior Heavyweight Champion. I'm not saying it can happen I'm not saying it's going to happen within the next few months.
You have the power.
Back.
You're the GM.
I put him in a title match. I put him in a title match. He was gone in seconds. Like, it's not my fault. I'm trying here, but he has to hold up his end of the bargain. But it's not impossible that he continues to grow, get better, and think about the explosion when that happens as well. Like, that's like genuinely something that is in play. So the Midcard Mafia is going to be my answer for this, because I think it's going to be amazing. Like, if and when they do. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know how you want me to answer that. Like, I can't. With all training school people probably listening to this.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Katie win gold when things go back to normal.
No, Katie's had her run. She's done.
Hang on, you know I'm actually currently a champion, right? Like, everyone seems to forget I currently hold a belt. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, but in Irish wrestling.
Yeah, well, okay.
I'm expecting a comeback. I'm expecting to like snap back. No, it's just okay.
What was you going to say?
You could have said you're still an Irish wrestler holding gold, but I mean, okay. Yeah. So thanks for the question, Chloe. At EMS Pro Wrestling, the Fight Factory Medic, do you think that wrestling will actually be back on August 10th, given the amount of people disregarding the current restrictions? A friend of mine works in the shop and was laughed at for still wearing a mask by a customer. In all honesty, it looks like we're about to go backwards, and I can kind of see your point, almost definitely. But what do you think, anyway?
Wait. Go ahead, Phil.
I think we'll be back.
Yeah.
I think there is some agents out there, but I think we've done enough good work that when you see there's less than 100 cases being happening in Ireland, then you're kind of like starting to think, well, maybe we got the hang of it. People are a lot more aware now, so they're not like just like, here's the whole thing. Like, all right, so I have family over now, like there's a few of us, but we're all from like 3 households max. Like, all right, when the pubs reopen in like August 10th as well, then maybe you might see an upswing in it, but I think we're going to kill it off before then. Like, not kill it off, but like kill the thread off, basically. And it's good to be in an island as well, that we don't have people just crossing the border.
Yeah.
I don't know. I fancy we'll be all right. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I think the government are actually doing a good job sort of taking their time with this.
I disagree with a little bit of that. I think a lot more. I think you're underestimating the amount of people who are taking the piss. Like, if I'm going on a walk, the amount of people I see out in large groups and all, just like with no regard for it whatsoever and stuff. And I think, the fuck was I going to say a second ago? I did have another point. It was
no, you think of it. We're gonna be a while on this, like so.
Rick, what do you have to say about it anyway?
Like, I tend to lean more towards Phil. Okay, so things we have to remember. Let's kind of base this in facts and knowledge rather than just kind of guess.
I remember my other point.
Go for it.
I remember my other point. You say we're an island, and we are, and we should be able to deal with it. But the problem is, up north have to deal with. Actually, no, am I wrong when I say this? Who up north? Who's in control of how they deal with the virus?
The UK, but
is it the North themselves?
No, they don't have a government at the moment.
Yeah,
I think.
They don't have an elected government. They have a government that's there to rule, but they don't have like an actual. So they wouldn't have a Dáil, but they still have. If we don't have a government, if we don't have like an elected Taoiseach, we still have a Department of Education. We still have a Department of blah 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 blah, and we still have a government running the show. It'll be the outgoing government running the policy that was in place. So they still have a government running the actual like country, but at the same time, you don't necessarily have a decision maker, so restrictions will be based off the UK's restrictions. So there is that too.
And the reason I say that is because the UK have been horribly fucking reckless with all this. They've done this whole thing of saying you're allowed to go back to work, but try not to use public transport.
Yeah.
And there's videos going around on Twitter of public transport and how it's packed, because surprisingly enough, people don't just use public transport for the crack, for the fun of it. You know what I mean? It's because they have no fucking choice. But the government have done it in such a way where they just want to fucking move on. And if they can blame the public for the virus outbreak, then they'll go ahead and they'll do it. And the problem is we have to deal with the North facing the same fucking problems. So for that, it all adds up. I think the problem is that it's phase 5, and if I don't know, I'm not. The reality is none of us know, so we're all just speculating based off.
But my whole thing about an island is that, like, you're talking about people coming from England, Scotland, Wales. If they want to get to Northern Ireland, like, they have to go by plane or boat. Like, that's a trek in itself. Like, the thing about it is, if you're somebody living in England and you want to go to Scotland, you can just drive across the border, regardless of whether you're 5k away from that border or 50k. Like, it's not as if you can just like cross the street and you're in Northern Ireland. You know what I mean?
And also as well, right, okay, so consider, this is worth throwing in for non-compliance, right? Why is there a lot more non-compliance going on, okay, at the moment on the south, okay? There's a lot more going on because as far as people are concerned, we've done it. Hey, we did it. Look, there's only 4 deaths the other day. We've done it. We've got rid of it. So, like, I think people are lax here, whereas up north, they're like, and in the UK in general, there's a lot of anxiety and worry right now because they're aware that the government are mishandling it, so they don't know what to do. So as a result, you're probably going to get people who aren't having that overconfident reaction to it. So they're going to be like, you're going to get the flip side of that in the Northern Ireland. So there's 2 elements which balance it out. I think what we have to do is, look, Ian, you're right in what you're saying, that the only actual answer we can give is I don't know. Okay, and to speculate on it and to be one of those people who was like, oh yeah, I think it's going to be here for at least 7 years. You know, it's like the old Trinidadian flu that we had there 50 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just like there's no way we can kind of actually do it. But to look at kind of facts and what's actually happening in the country. Okay, yes, the other day we only had 4 deaths. It's getting closer to a stage where we're going to have that beautiful day where the update's going to come in and we're going to have 0 deaths. We're getting closer to that. We can see it in the nightly figures. Second thing to be happy about, Tony Holohan the other day came out and said the community transmission in Ireland has been reduced to nearly 0. We've nearly wiped out community transmission. So it's not happening person to person in shops. It's not happening in parks, even with people not complying to restrictions. Keep in mind,
how's it happening then?
How's it happening? It's happening in nursing homes. It's happening in hospitals. It's happening in places where they can't avoid that close contact that is required. So that's how it's still being passed from people to people. But we can't. Also, as well, another good thing to keep in mind. Okay, the restrictions aren't based on 100% compliance, and I can tell you this for a fact without the government. Now, the government can't come out and say that, because if they say, oh no, we'll get this far if only 80% of people comply, then what's going to happen? Everyone's going to go, well, I'm in the 20%, and then everyone's going to go. So they have to make it across the board. But here's how I know that it's not based on 100% compliance, because we're already in phase 1. We've passed the first stage of it, and we've all seen pictures online. We've all gone out and seen people ignoring it on the street. We've all seen pictures online. I'm in Blanche and was ashamed to see there was a fucking house party. There was a street party around the corner from me. Fucking disgraceful. This is why I'm not McDonald's. Yeah, that's it. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. Yeah, that's true as well. But like, I think it's in the post. Yeah, the postman's not working because of restrictions. But like, these things are in place as well, considering the fact that people aren't going to follow them and that we get X amount. Now, we don't know what that number is, and they're not going to tell us, and they're smart for not telling us. That's the right call. They have to tell us that the restrictions are across the board, but they take into account that that we will have fucking idiots who are going to be selfish and who are going to break them and convince themselves that they don't apply to them, or they can break the rules but do it in a safe way, even though that's fucking delusional and anyone sensible knows that. So this is why I feel like we can be optimistic about it, because community transition, now that can go back. We don't know what the situation will be. Currently, the good news is we are on schedule to be able to have wrestling in August 10th. The rest is our own kind of fears, anxieties and worries, but it's important to remember that I get as wound up when I see people breaking it outside. Like, I stare people down as I'm going for my run and I see a bunch of kids. I stare at them running past, like, from 2 meters away. But like I get wound up by it too, but then I remember, well, what do I know? That doesn't prove that they have coronavirus and they've actually spread it. You know what I mean? It's just me getting worried about what could happen, and that's my own anxiety. So far, as far as the facts go, we are on course. Okay, we passed the stage on Monday. The deaths are coming down. There's good news here. So let's not get worked up about something we can't control, and let's just do our best is the only attitude. Let's just do what we can to get it to that. And then anything else that happens is beyond our control, you know?
There's
I have
also,
a question.
also just
Go ahead, Kay. Sorry.
Go on.
Another way it's like wrestling August 10th. My understanding is, though, that's wrestling training, not shows.
This is what I was going to say.
Yeah, they haven't made a decision on
Mark
shows. And to be honest, I think people need to be back at training before any sort of shows go ahead. The last thing I want to see is loads of independent promotions going back to putting on shows when the wrestlers haven't wrestled for 6 months.
Yeah, and it's unsafe too.
Phil's making a face, but like I was out wrestling for 6 months last year, and ring rust is real. And when you have a whole roster of people who are all like out of practice, and Phil's looking at me because he's the kind of person that can probably not wrestle for a year and get in and not miss a beat.
No, I'm not talking about that. I was just like, I just love your PC answer there when like you could.
But it's not a PC answer. This is coming from a place of fear of someone who didn't train for 6 months and then, like...
Okay, if you take the Phoenix guys are reckless and they up the stage for only 4 days. 4 days training.
I forgot about that. Oh, Katie Harvey shoots. Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
I was actually more thinking of, like, no, I actually completely slipped my mind.
Personally, I think the Phoenix guys are going to be absolutely fine. They're consummate professionals. Katie, on the other hand, clearly.
Just get out of it. Keen, make the save. Make the save, Keen. Make the save.
I look like a dickhead now again. But honestly, like, I think August 10th is training schools back. I don't know if shows are going to be allowed go ahead.
Okay, so they have made, if you look into it, they have made some kind of rules around this. You can have, like, so for example, stadium shows, October, probably optimistic based on the current kind of projections, because they haven't made a ruling on large gatherings of crowd. You can have shows, you can have spectator sports where there are social distancing in play, all right? But then the question becomes is, for companies that would run those type of shows, is it financially viable to run a show where maybe you can only have 100 people maximum in it to make sure that social distancing can be adhered to? So there's that too. But also keep in mind as well, the social distancing itself is coming down to 1.5 meters rather than 2 meters, so there's a bit more wiggle room there and so on. So there's a lot to take into place, but technically, yes, you are able to have some small shows from August 10th. It would be legal within the restrictions. Or phase 5, we won't say August 10th because it can move up and down, but phase 5, it is okay to have shows where you can have social distancing.
Also, it's one of those things where, like, go on.
Sorry, Ken. I would love to hear from fans or listeners to tell me if we had a show booked, let's say August 11th, would they be comfortable coming in and sitting beside somebody for 2 hours, chatting away, saying this is awesome, this is awesome? Would you be comfortable doing it? Because that's my fear about arranging our next show. It's not like, when do we get over the how would you say it?
The fear factor.
The fear factor, yeah, of like, I'd love to go to that wrestling show, but I'm scared I might catch something.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, like, now we probably all would be afraid, but maybe in August 10th we won't feel the same. We don't know how we're going to feel then. So it is interesting to get that litmus test right now. It definitely is informative. So do by all means tweet Phil and let us know your thoughts and how you feel right now. Even just to have that interesting conversation. But also keep in mind that we'll feel differently by August 10th, because by then, if the Premier League does come back in June, we'll have 2 months worth of sport. So for example, consider how even having the Bundesliga back made me feel this weekend. I'm like, all right, so we have sports back. So now the Premier League can come back, and now this can come back, and slowly we're getting back to normal, and your brain just naturally goes there. And then you have to talk yourself down. But like, you start to feel more comfortable when you see other things. So then that'll be, the Bundesliga will be back 3 months by that stage. So people will be like, yeah, just let me go out. Yeah, it's grand. Look, they're back. Look, it's grand. We're back. We're getting back to normal. So people will feel differently by August 10th is what I mean.
I'd love to know how many wrestlers will be comfortable as well. Like, all right, so you know the way Simon Harris and Leo Varadkar are like using other European countries to like see how it goes. Like, I'm just thinking about it now. I'm going to be watching how Phoenix does on the 14th. Yeah. Because I'll be curious to see how they do crowd-wise. Like, will their usual fan base be comfortable going into a hall and watching a show? Like, I hope they do. Like I hope the show goes well. It's very scary from a promoter's point of view, because the last show we did was the middle of that storm. Yes. I think it was the last one. It was. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like we could see the you could see there wasn't that many people there that there would usually be, but you could say, like, Jesus Christ, all right, we're in the middle of storm weather here. Like, I can understand why people didn't want to leave their gas, but I'd be curious about Phoenix now on the 14th.
Yeah, let's get a conversation started. What do you guys think based on that? Like, yeah, definitely tweet us in. That's a really interesting conversation we can pick up on.
I think everyone's going to go. It's going to be deadly.
Hey.
Thanks for the question. At Alan Tarr, this is a big ask. Can Rick go on a 20-minute rant? Thank you. About progress for someone who doesn't know anything about the current situation? Thanks, Liam.
Oh, I won't, because I want to keep time for me saving my telling my Phil story this week. Okay, so in terms of what happened with progress, have you guys seen this or any reaction, or have you seen the full kind of story, or where are you guys?
I read the article.
Okay. I only saw what you said.
Okay, so basically, for anyone who hasn't seen it, what happened is the PW Torch released an article yesterday. They came out and discussed progress and basically criticised them for asking for donations and asked them for they asked fans for donations, saying they were struggling not being able to put on shows. It also reported that they were able to get some access into and this was good journalism, they were able to get some access into Progress's books and their finances, and they were able to discover that over the past 2 years, the owners of Progress have been able to draw wages of over 400,000, and asked the fair question of, this doesn't seem like a poor independent wrestling company as well when you consider they're getting money from NXT UK. Now, I'd also turn around and say that just to balance this out, because there's not one simple answer for this, as much as I think people would like there to be. It's complex, but I won't go 20 minutes, I promise. There is, for me, the article fell down towards the end and got a bit like, it wouldn't get approved for like the Irish Times. It wouldn't get approved for anything like that, because despite the fact that they had good journalism in it and the fact that they got some finances of Progress to give some perspective, it then got into a very Fox Newsy type of conclusion to the article, where they're like, well, NXT UK said they only gave them 50,000, but is that really the case? Can we not assume that they're getting much more money from NXT UK? And to be honest, from a journalism standpoint, from someone who's like worked in media for a long time, worked with big organisations like the Journal and Joe.ie, and kind of seen standards at play and knows a lot of journalists and is friends with them and would talk to them about a lot of stuff as well, that's the questions you're supposed to answer as a journalist. And if you don't know that answer, you can't go out and then just ask a leading question without being able to do it, because you haven't done your job in getting them. You have to leave it at the facts that you have, and you have to let people make their own conclusion. That's what Fox News does and what it gets criticised for, where it's like, Obamagate. Well, this is a weird thing, isn't it? You didn't know that he asked for information about one of Trump's administration situation. Doesn't that seem strange to you? When actually the full truth of the story is, no, that's not strange. The government does it thousands of times a year. It's actually a standard procedure for anyone in that position. But Fox News will take the ball and run with it because it's agenda-based reporting. So that was the problem I had with the article, although there were some interesting facts that it raised. There was interesting points and talking points based off it as well. So for a start, in my opinion, I agree completely with the article's notion that progress of all companies cannot come out. I don't think any wrestling company can come out. Now, it happened with OTT, but it was fan-led, where fans started a GoFundMe to help fund OTT for when they lost the stadium show. That's fair enough, because the fans did that. OTT didn't ask for it, okay? Companies shouldn't ask for fans to do these kind of things, because for a start, it's just, you have to consider that your fan base is in the same situation for you. It's a global recession. If you don't have the money, the fans probably don't have the money. So you asking for them for money to fund you, essentially think about what you're going to get. A, you're going to piss off a lot of the fans who probably don't have money and are suffering just as you are. And B, the people that are going to pay are probably the most vulnerable fans that you have, because they are willing, they're not seeing that you're being greedy through this. They're not reading into the situation. They're being gullible and going along with your party line that you need the money, so you have to donate. So it's absolute bollocks that they should, that the progress of all companies, if it was a smaller company, I'd kind of sympathise a little bit. But progress of all companies, when they have the money coming in, when they have viable sources of income through merchandise, a VOD service that's quite successful, WWE paying the money as well, they should not be asking for money. It's an absolute disgrace that they are. And also as well, another thing is, wrestlers and wrestling companies have to adapt to the current situation, just as every company has to do. And like, for me, it's okay if a wrestling company comes out and provides a service in the form of new merchandise, in the form of a VOD company, in the form of extra content not based away from wrestling, or not based in shows, which we obviously can't do at the moment. So wrestling companies have to adapt with that. And ultimately, that's the harsh reality in a market where if they can't survive, then unfortunately it's shit. But it's just the reality of business, where every company is in the same boat. And a lot of hotels and restaurants and pubs have their hands tied and will have to close down as a result of this. It's shit, but it's just one of those things. And also as well, it is possible to adapt. I want to give an example of someone who's adapted really well to this situation. It's just one person, but it's an example of what can be done. Rocky Mack. Rocky Mack has not only taken this situation to not only survive, he has taken this situation to thrive, okay? He has reacted to this situation and like the likes of people using video calls through House Party and the likes, and he has made one of the best web series I've ever seen done in wrestling. And he's used that to sell new merchandise that he's got. Rocky Mack has taken the coronavirus situation and made it work for himself. So if he can do it, then the collective brain trusts with the resources and social media following that the likes of Progress and so on have, that if he can do it by himself, then imagine what they can do if they put their resources together. If they put just their social media following out, imagine what he can do. It is possible for people to adapt and survive. We have had to do it. My own day job company has had to do it in ways that if you asked us 3 months ago if we could do this, we would have laughed in your face. But we've had to completely change the way we've done our business, and we've done it. It can be done with wrestling. It's just producing content, and there is a thirst out there for content now at the moment. So it can be done. People are doing it. So wrestling companies have to survive. And if you can't survive without donations, then I'm sorry, but you have to accept your situation. Also, another thing I want to add, I don't begrudge Progress for making a lot of money. I think a lot of this is based around the fact that they were earning six-figure sums. I've no problem with that. That's what they should be doing. That's them running as a business. If they're successful, I'm not going to penalise them for that. But I also see the point where they shouldn't be asking for donations when they have earned such money from the past, and people can find that out. It is a bit rich of them to turn around and then play the poor card. So I see people's point on that. I just don't begrudge them the fact that they did well in wrestling, because anyone in that situation who was criticising them, who had the same success, would be happy to take those six-figure sums themselves. So that's my take on it. I didn't go 20 minutes, so we have time if anyone else wants to chime in.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. No, like, look, I think after hearing all that, I actually think it's lousy, to be honest. Like, like speaking from somebody who's pumped not half his life, yeah, probably near enough half my life into a wrestling company that is small, like, you know what I mean, in comparison. Like what $2,000 or $3,000 donation would do for us is huge. Like we could have a brand new entranceway, but these guys are just going to take it and put it in their bank account for their personal bank account, you know? Like I think that's what they're really upset about, is that their personal accounts probably took a knock, you know? Rather than the progress funds. Like.
But with progress, like, that is their full-time job.
Yeah, well, you can get a full-time job that pays €400 a week. Like what's the definition of like a full-time job here? Like, because they could probably still earn £400 a week off their VOD and all. Like,
oh, you know, I'm not saying you're saying, but that is their full-time job. Like, it's.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah. But depends what the wage is. Like, you know, if they're accustomed to getting $5,000 a week or whatever it is, and suddenly they're not getting $5,000 a week, and then they're trying to play the paupers.
Yeah.
Oh no, we don't have the money to pay ourselves $5,000 anymore. Like, then that's a bit rich, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, what I thought was a bit bad of them was they were still pushing tickets for their June, July, and August shows up until a few days ago, when anyone could have told you weeks ago, months ago now at this stage, those shows weren't going to happen. Like, they put an American tour on sale a month ago to happen in July, I think it was. You know what I mean? And it's just like, to me, that's just a bit tone deaf, you know, because if someone buys your ticket, yeah, fair enough, you're going to refund them if them shows get cancelled. But, like, you're still keeping that money out of the fans' pockets for an unnecessary reason in my eyes, you know? I don't know, I just thought them putting them shows on was a bit in bad faith, and then selling tickets was a bit in bad faith. But, like, I don't know, Progress is a weird one, because, like, I really like it there, and I really like watching the shows, but by the same time, I don't know, I just don't get the whole, like, oh, these are corporate sellouts, because, again, if the money was offered to the people calling corporate sellouts, they take it, you can't have it always. You can't have a high-class quality product and then complain it's not punk rock enough. Yeah. You know, it's like you either get the gritty garage wrestling or you get the high-quality wrestling. Like, you don't get to have both.
Yeah, like, I would beg people. I'd beg 400 people to show up our next shows and, like, make us sustainable for a year. Like, it might be maybe more, like, that sort of money if we drew that crowd. But, like, they are just so cash rich, and, like, they are a big company. They're a conglomerate. Like, they crush smaller promotions. Like, I know they were small once, but they're certainly not that anymore, you know?
Well, thanks for the question, Liam.
I hope that answered it.
Yeah. At Wolf of the Borough, with NXT doing an in-your-house pay-per-view, what's your favourite match and/or show from the original concept? I'm torn between Bad Blood, Taker versus Michael Hell in a Cell, and Canadian Stampede, Heart Foundation versus Stone Cold and Gang. Has Rick seen the latter yet? Well, first of all, to make you feel old, the last in your house, I was 4 months old. So, I actually don't. I understand that, you know, in your house was the pay-per-view in between the actual pay-per-views, but I haven't researched it. I don't know what any of the actual, you know, concepts were. So I'm just going to open this out to the older people. Rick, have you seen the latter yet?
I haven't seen it. Here's an idea I had, though. For my favourite match, I'll go Michael Saker, Hell in a Cell, or Shawn Michaels against Mankind. Mick Foley calls that his favourite match of all time. It does hold up. It holds up till today. It's a great match. Haven't seen Canadian Stampede. Had an idea, though, based on, and tweet me your feedback for this if this is something you guys would be interested in. People have been asking us to do a watch-along. We haven't done it that much because, like, everyone's kind of taken that idea now, so it's not fresh. So I don't want to kind of add to it because it's happened a lot these days. But I got an idea for this. How about we did, before the week of NXT in your house, we do a poll to see an old in your house pay-per-view, and then we do a watch along for that. So let us know what you think of that, and you can vote for it. Maybe Canadian Stampede will vote for it, or maybe another one. It'd just be an interesting way for us to tweet about something that isn't a big four pay-per-view and does go back to, like, the Attitude Era when a lot of people watched. But those two matches are my answer anyway.
I actually couldn't distinguish what's in your house match and what isn't.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. Yeah.
I wasn't watching WWE at the time, so I've literally just had to Google in your house matches. I like Shawn Michaels and Mankind. That's a really good match. Yeah, but I wasn't watching at this point, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be the same. Any old WWF matches, unless there are a rare few, like I wouldn't know what pay-per-view they were on, what year they were on, so.
Yeah. And it's tough as well because In Your House kind of stops and then it just becomes like Backlash and Judgment Day, but they're not technically In Your House pay-per-views, but then they were In Your House Backlash. You know what I mean? So it's a tricky one.
Where am I now?
Sean McSarron.
I managed to go this entire show without having to do that, and oh well. At Sean McSarron, thanks for the question, by the way, Jay. At Sean McSarron, and this is a question that I think I'm going to answer one way. Rick's going to answer the opposite, but I'm very curious to you what Katie says for it.
Ooh.
So, for the rest of time, you can either only watch anything from the past and present of the following. This is one group, right? Bear in mind, one group: WWE, ECW, WCW, AEW, New Japan, and TNA. A lot of wrestling there. It's one group. You can only watch the past and present from that group or anything else. And yeah, that's basically the question. Who do you pick? So for me, 100%, I picked the anything else option because of Irish wrestling. Obviously I love commentating for Fight Factory and Phoenix, but I also just as a fan love going to OTT. And I think of the matches that have like a lasting, impression on me, like my favorite matches of the year were Devin Walter, Devlin Starr, and the winner take all match of that Fight Factory show last year. Like none of those come from the big six companies. ECW and WCW are done. I don't go back and watch old wrestling. New Japan doesn't mean as much to me as it does to other people. TNA these days it's all right. Like it's grand, you know what I mean, if you have the time. WWE, I'd miss like WrestleMania and the Rumble, but that's really it. Like I watch weekly WWE when there's fans, but even then it's not something where I'm like, oh, it's must see. And AEW is the one I kind of missed out on just because I'm really curious to see where it goes from here. But for me, Irish wrestling trumps all of it. And I mean, you've still got some good promotions outside of those six that you can still watch, like the NWA isn't even on that. NWA.
You took my answer.
So I am going to go with outside of those top six. But it's a very interesting question. So, Phil, what are you saying about it?
Yeah, I think NWA would be the one to watch because, here's the whole thing. Like, I like New Japan, but I don't watch a lot of New Japan. I don't watch TNA because you have WWE and AEW now. So why would I watch Impact? ECW is dead, so there's no new content coming. I know there's no new content from the NWA really either.
A weekly show.
Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, well, like you're getting 2 matches a week, so they're not exactly overloading with like new content. You'll be waiting a while to have a binge night. You know what I mean? My whole thing about NWA though, like if you're talking about the territories and stuff like that, like I can imagine there's so many classic, like unseen, untapped matches you could see there that you would enjoy because the crowd were into it. And it was a different time. The matches were way more enjoyable, I found, back then. From a fan's point of view, and that's what we're talking about, like watching as fans.
Yeah.
So I think NWA is a great show because it encompasses AWA wouldn't be a bad show either.
See, you can watch all of them. Like, yeah, so it's either the promotions he said or everything else. So if you pick everything else, you get NWA, AWA, Irish wrestling, like anything outside of those promotions.
Yeah,
you get things like Progress and ICW and all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like WXW. Oh, yeah. Then anything else, like, yeah.
Nice, interesting.
So same most of the other stuff. So
interesting. Okay, so
it's
all based
such an interesting question, Sean. For me, I went back and forth in my head a lot. I ruled out ECW because, it's dead. I ruled out WCW even though I love it because there's no new content.
Oh, that's the one that really got me. That's the one I thought you'd say yeah to.
I went back and forwards a lot, but once you've got through the content, and there is a lot of it, there's nothing new. Even though Phil has just proved we can still get spoilers on 20-year-old wrestling. AEW, New Japan, I cherry pick matches that I hear are good. TNA, I haven't watched it regularly in 8 years. So for me, it's between WWE and anything else.
The thing about New Japan that would appeal to me is that I haven't really gone back and watched all the old stuff. Like the odd match will pop up, like, but like I'd be curious to see what it was like when Inoki was king, like, and all the mid carders around then, like we had
but that would be your only content then.
Yeah, and the new stuff then.
Yeah.
You still got all Wrestle
For me,
Kingdom
like
G1.
there is a lot of New Japan, I'll give you that. But no,
40 years worth.
For me, it's still between WWE and anything else.
Anything else wins by a mile. Like, I don't care. The independents are bigger than any of those bigger companies. Like, we just don't all work together. But like wrestling as a whole is much bigger than any of those big promotions. Like,
but like WWE, like the Rumble, right? Like, imagine being a wrestling fan and not getting caught up in WrestleMania season or Rumble season. Like, that's what kills me. Imagine not watching, like, Daniel Bryan's run to the top. Imagine not watching Kofi Kingston's world title win. Like, the emotions get me and, like, kind of lean me towards WWE. But then, here's the big thing. Live wrestling, I would always choose anything else over any of them. You know,
what you got to decide, like,
never...
You got to decide your social life as well.
Like, if you gave me a WWE house show and an OTT, I would pick OTT in a heartbeat. Like, it wouldn't even be a conversation. Like, but I don't know. It's just the WWE nostalgia. No, anything else. I'm picking anything else.
Stanford, I've heard that.
I'm gonna
look. I've already written myself over on this podcast numerous times.
I don't think Progress are gonna
I'm gonna go with what the answer Keane absolutely predicted. This is not like I'm not saying that I wouldn't miss the anything else. I would, and I miss the social aspect of it too. But like WWE is my childhood. New Japan is the one that engages me most as a fan these days, and there's so much content coming out of it as well. Like when you get them AEW now as well, I would miss the Irish stuff. I would miss all the independent stuff, the likes of not getting to watch NWA Power. I would miss that, but like to take the rest away from me, and that's the wrestling that I grew to love. That's what wrestling is to me, those companies. And like, I get that that's not it's not even the popular answer here. I'm the only one saying it, perhaps surprisingly, but yeah, I'm going to go WWE, New Japan, AEW, all of that stuff, because I could live in a world where I'd miss the rest, but only getting the rest and not getting to ever watch an old Royal Rumble again, not ever getting to go back, because that's important to me too. I do go back and watch old wrestling. I love going back and watching it. I love watching the stuff that made me a wrestling fan to begin with and feeling like a child again. I love New Japan. I love looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom, G1s, figuring out all that kind of stuff. It's unthinkable for me to live in a wrestling world without that, and to get the other stuff, no, because that stuff to me is extra stuff anyway. The stuff in the promotions you listed is what made me a fan and keeps me a fan today. So it's an easy one for me, even though there's a heavy heart with that.
I misunderstood the question.
What? How did you misunderstand that?
Past and present.
Do you pick WWE or ECW or WCW, or are they one group?
No, not only they're all one group. They're all one group, or it's anything else. Like we explained this to Phil.
Anymore.
We explained this to Phil too.
I'd still go for the anything else.
I think I still would as well. Oh no, but that kills me. No,
like,
I would.
You have New Japan. New Japan is the best, but like you've got a load of other Japanese promotions that you can watch, like Noah and Zero One and Dragon Gate, and
it's not the same. No,
it can be though.
No.
If you don't know the grass is greener, that can be your bet.
But like, I do. I know what I'm missing. He's never said that we're not butterfly affecting this. He's saying that you're making a choice from today onwards, deciding one way or the other.
Right, but if another promotion pops up, yeah, like another Lucha Underground or another really, really cool promotion comes up that you did not see, like we didn't see AEW happening, like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So if you go with anything else and a new promotion shows up, that's fucking amazing. You'll never get to see it. You know what I mean?
Nothing is going to come up that's more valuable to me in terms of my wrestling opinion than like Royal Rumbles and watching old Royal Rumbles. Like that's my childhood. That's why I'm a wrestling fan to begin with. G1s, nothing's going to replace that. Nothing's going to come up.
Well, but what if G1s end up being shit? What if like?
Then I watch old ones. then I watch old. Like consider that G1s are like 19-day tournaments, and there's like 20 of them, and they run for 4 hours. I'm not going to get to them all watched in my lifetime as it is. You know what I mean? Like, so I've got more than enough old great content that I can go back and binge on, and I don't know enough. I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge with Japan like I do Royal Rumbles, where I know who's going to win. I can just follow it fresh, like, and then I can rewatch it as well. Like, no, it's easy for me. It's easy for me.
Yeah, I'm changing my answer.
I just had to think about it as well. So let's say you choose WWE and you choose all the mainstream promotions, all right?
Yeah.
So does that mean I'm looking at WWE and I don't really know a lot about the indies? So I don't see any indie promotions, any indie matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then how fucking cool would it be when WWE signed people like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, or people like Adam Cole, and these people just appear on your TV without the hype, like Keith Lee, like, oh, there's Keith Lee. I saw him have a few OTT matches. Good for him. Like, you would just think, like, who the fuck is Keith Lee? This guy's huge, like.
Yeah, and do you remember how cool it was when, like, I remember watching Chris Jericho or Taz or someone appearing from, like, another promotion, but I didn't know about them.
I didn't know about Taz.
And I was like, oh my god, this guy is the best wrestler ever, and I don't know why. It's just like, yeah, this is amazing.
When Taz came in and choked out Kurt Angle in that unofficial match, which means it was not it wasn't a loss because it wasn't official. Like Taz was badass, like.
Yeah, love it.
Like, I didn't know Taz before that, like.
Yeah,
like, I was like, who is this guy? Who's like this guy destroying Kurt Angle, like?
But you still get the pop for him because the other fans can watch it, so you still get the recognition pop, so you still get to build off their excitement, but you don't know who he is, so it's still mysterious to you. So if Adam Cole debuts, you get the huge reaction, but you're like, who the fuck is this guy? And you get to have that excitement that you had when Taz debuted.
Oh, so this is like an individual thing. What if it's a universal thing where we have to pick sides, like some sort of war?
That's a different question. We have enough questions without giving ourselves more.
That WWE arena, everyone in that WWE arena has chosen WWE. Like
that's a different question. We'll get to that next week if Sean wants to ask. We have enough questions to be dealing with.
Then I suppose all the producers of WWE would only watch WWE. Then they wouldn't see the indies, so they wouldn't sign anybody.
This is just about you.
What if the producers pick the indies, but they're still working for WWE, so they have to turn their back to the monitor every time they're working?
The cameras just miss everything.
Booker not knowing how the matches are going, just likes the names. Like, yeah, I'm going to keep on this guy over.
How'd it go? Good. All right, cool.
You can win next week again, so.
Oh, gosh. Really good question, Sean.
Yeah, it actually, a lot more thought-provoking than I realised. Fuck. Yeah. Thanks for the question. At Joe Stodge, during a heated back and forth on Twitter during the week, there were some pretty hefty allegations lodged against David Starr. Care to discuss? So this was Sebastian on Twitter, who used to wrestle in Progress in ICW. It got no traction. The only people who saw it were like Rick and Joe. I literally... So I don't remember what the accusations were. So Rick, do you want to say what they were? I can't remember.
I've no problem taking it. So they got into a back and forth. Now Sebastian's someone who he had a large following. He was a wrestler way back, but he's more known for his Twitter because he's retired from wrestling. And he got barred from Twitter for saying like mad shit. Basically, he's back on Twitter, but he hasn't kind of rebuilt his following. And David Starr didn't do his usual thing of quote tweeting, so his fans didn't see it, and it didn't really get traction. So it did go under the radar. Now look, we don't know what the situation is because for me this was the first time I'd heard anything about this. But basically Sebastian was calling David Starr out on being a hypocrite. Like basically it all started because David Starr put up and to me I kind of get what Sebastian's saying here, where he's like, buy my new t-shirt where I say fuck capitalism on Boris Johnson's face, and it's like, you're saying fuck capitalism, but you're also like relying on capitalism there. So like it's kind of hypocritical. But whatever, everyone has their own opinion on that. We won't get into it. Anyway, David Starr and him had a back and forth. At the end of it, Sebastian just dropped a bombshell on David Starr, where he just turns around and goes, I think it was, I'll find the tweet. Hang on, I'll find the tweet. It was like basically. I don't want to misquote it because it is like I want to get this right because I don't know about the accusations, but it is out there publicly, so I can read what the tweet did say. Oh no, I have to find it through David Starr's account. I'm going to be like 4 days scrolling. That lad tweets like every fucking 5 minutes, even when there's not a lockdown. Give me one.
Go into the WhatsApp chat then.
Mate, come on.
So
just paraphrase him.
So basically, he turned around and said, "Don't pretend like we all don't know that you DM'd a progress trainee, a female progress trainee. She told you she couldn't meet you because she's in school, and then you continued to DM her afterwards." Now, what I find obviously that's a huge fucking accusation because basically he's accusing David Starr of some fairly noncy behaviour there. What I found interesting about it myself was David Starr's response to it, because at first I kind of got it where it was like, all right, maybe he just doesn't want to respond, because he continued to have the back and forth, but he only took issue with Sebastian kind of questioning his politics. So that's why the tweet you saw in the Low Blows account was, if you didn't understand the context to it, I came out and said, your politics are weird, and or you DM'd a child repeatedly and your politics are weird, and then the response was, hey, don't make fun of my politics. And it's like you're kind of burying the lead there a little bit. But I'd understand if it was a case of he didn't want to acknowledge the rumours. But then it kind of got weirder as the conversation progressed, because David Starr then started to try get jokey with Sebastian and try and make it into a bit of a laugh, and got a bit buddy-buddy with him. But Sebastian was having none of it. He was responding, even when David Starr was trying to make friends with him, he was responding by going, nah, you're still a fucking melt and we all hate you, basically. So that's where that's what came out. That's what's interesting. What I found interesting about it personally, and again, I want to contextualize this because a lot of people have a lot wrapped up in David Starr, both him as a person and kind of believe in his brand and what he stands for and this and that. And a lot of people have stuff wrapped up in him, even if they're like hardcore OTT fans. So they don't want to see the OTT champion get caught in a scandal as well. So I understand why people don't want to kind of discuss this or kind of give this kind of airways, especially if we don't have any further proof beyond this random accusation. Keep in mind as well that you can feel good about that, because I don't know about anyone else, but I've never heard this before. It's not like an unspoken secret, like, and a lot of these things are where there's rumors about it, but no one wants to come out because you're hearing it second, third, fourth hand and so on. But this isn't something that's known within wrestling, as far as I'm aware anyway. It hasn't reached me, so I've never heard anything like this before about David Starr. So for what that's worth, if you still want to follow him, then take that for what it's worth, okay? Also as well though, like, from my standpoint, I found that a weird response, because if someone, I can only judge how I'd react to that. So if someone accused me of that, first thing I'd be like, hey, have to defend myself. But also if you want to take the stance that he didn't want to acknowledge the accusations, I wouldn't then try be friendly with the person. I wouldn't try make up with the person. I wouldn't try kind of get jokey with the person. I'd be fucking fuming that you'd accuse me of this. And I'd be thinking, I'm going to sue the fuck out of you because I need to now to clear my name legally because of the situation you've just put in. So I wouldn't react in a way where I'm then trying to make friends with the person. It's just a strange reaction. It's worrying. It's a bit alarming for me. And we're all on heightened awareness about wrestlers, even after Velveteen Dream, that we like or appreciate their work, being bad people or doing bad things that we don't know about. So that's my opinion of it. That's as much as I can discuss. I'd like to record the show, I was always Team Devlin, just throwing that out there. I have been a bit sketchy about David Starr, but nothing to do with this. I never thought he was that. I just thought he was a bit of a wanker. Like, I shared a lot of Sebastian's opinions on him, but I also appreciate that he was very talented at what he does. He does excellent promos and has excellent matches, so there's that too. But that's what the situation is. If you're asking if we know any more info, honestly, I can't say that I do. I can't say that I've heard anything. I would suspect that now that there's a bomb thrown out there, there will be more added to it if there is more to the story. So I'd say one way or another, that comment wasn't unnoticed by people. I think it just made people nervous because of how flippantly it was thrown out there, and people don't know what to do with it. I'd say that if there's more to it, I think we'll probably hear it, and this story isn't over. If you don't hear anything more of it, then you can probably still be okay being a David Starr fan. I think that's a fair response to take. But you can feel how you want to feel, because that happened, and you can get all of it from David Starr's Twitter account. If you look back far enough, you'll be able to see everything up there, and you can kind of make your own mind up on it. But that's the situation. There's not much to add to that. That is the situation. That's all I know anyway. So,
well, yeah, cool. Thanks for the question, Joe. At Clueless Nerd, with the success of The Last Dance about Michael Jordan and the praise for The Last Ride about The Undertaker, which Irish sports star would you like to see an in-depth documentary about? I'd make a case for Justy or Paddy M. I would make a case for Rory the Lap. Man, those fucking throws. How can you throw a ball like that? I know he's like a former javelin thrower, yeah? But those throws are fucking massive. I want to see a documentary about Rory the Lap.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing.
I thought, wait, what?
It can be wrestling or sports. So Irish wrestling or sports. No, it can be wrestling too. So who'd you like to see a Last Dance style documentary or about?
See, the thing that was deadly about The Last Dance is it wasn't just about Michael Jordan. It was about that era. Mm-hmm. So like you kind of want someone that ties it with like an era or a significant event. I'm trying to think. I don't know a lot about sports, so like Becky Lynch is a really obvious answer, but she also has a really interesting life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like coming in and out of wrestling and the different paths she took to get there and stuff. Well, I don't know, sports, Phil?
I didn't know the question was coming, so I'm just thinking.
Like the likes of like Katie Taylor and all could be really interesting, but also she leads a very kind of straight and narrow life. Like I'm not saying it has to be. Oh, what about someone like who's a mad footballer who's Irish?
I'd say Roy Keane. Roy Keane is my answer.
I know this story.
Yeah.
Is George Best Irish?
Northern Irish.
Yeah. George Best?
Yes.
He'd be a bit of crack in a documentary.
Well, he's dead.
No, I know he's dead.
There may be a bit of crack in that documentary.
But like, I'd say they have like good footage and all. Like, if he was a mad lad, I don't know.
Yeah, you want somebody who can like the thing about Jordan and all the boys is that was them like reliving it. Like I've gone to some arguments back a few years ago that I'm like that were so passionate to me at the time, and now like I look back and I think like, yeah, Jesus, like I really overreacted to that. And that's kind of what you got from The Last Dance. Like it was really Jordan and the boys like just sort of like, right, this stuff happened, but like, yeah, Jerry Krause was an arsehole, but you know what I mean, he put it all together. So you know what I mean, I'm a millionaire now. I don't really hate the guy. Like I'm okay. Michael
Jordan has not let anything go. He is still a very long list of personal grievances against players and managers.
Scottie Pippen, the first 2 episodes of Scottie Pippen giving out that the Bulls treat him cheaply. He was one of the most underpaid players in the league. And then the last episode, he talks about how, look, he was thankful for Jerry Krause because he was a great general manager. And without him, none of this would have happened.
That's not what happened. Like, no, what happened was they said that on the stage so people would boo him. So they turned around and like Scottie Pippen was just being professional, but Phil Jackson said that on the stage because he wanted people to boo him. Like that was like, and that's a known thing. And all the podcasts I'm listening to, people were like, Phil Jackson was burying Jerry Krause by saying he was a great GM because he knew the crowd would go, boo.
Scotty said it in his gaff though.
Yeah.
When he were filming Scotty in the gaff, he said it.
But I feel like they just kind of had to bookend it nicely because like he's dead, he can't defend himself. They're after painting him like a monster for 10 episodes.
It doesn't matter. Like if you're a dick, like I don't think I have anyone who died that was a dick. Unfortunately, everyone who I think is a dick is still alive. But I don't think my opinion would change when they die. like I'd say like if he was an arsehole when he's alive, he's an arsehole when he's dead. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But Scottie Pippen might just be a lovely man who doesn't.
I'm a lovely man. I'm a really lovely man. Like I'm a nice guy.
A familiar trait all nice guys have is they tell you how nice they are. I'm just like you live and die with a sword. If you're a dickhead in life, it doesn't mean you're a great man when you're dead. Phil, look at the next question. Relax. You don't go into the nice guy stuff. Only joke.
So will we go to that next question?
No, I want to answer. I have an answer. Becky Lynch is definitely the one for this because highs and lows, like leaving wrestling, like it's, as far as wrestling goes, yeah. In terms of like great sports documentaries, Roy Keane is the right answer for this. Like I know we know a lot of his story, but just getting to see like the likes of a Saipan episode told from all angles and with cool music and like the production that The Last Dance got,
it was told.
Yeah, but like it was.
Sorry, not to cut you off there, but it was told already.
It was told on Reeling in the Years with Avril Lavigne, Complicated. Do you know what I mean? Like I want something a bit cooler than that. Like I want a bit more. Like I love an episode of it where like you get everyone all these years later. And Roy Keane reminds me of Michael Jordan in that I imagine he hasn't let a lot of grudges go. So I think he could be. Yeah, exactly. He could be good for this. Like he'd be that kind of character. So I think he'd be a good one.
If you're talking about like a dark side of the ring sort of like, if you're talking about dark side of the ring sort of one where they're looking for like a dark side of the story, not just like a happy, she became a world champion and nothing was ever wrong in her life, like Katie Taylor, just because she's so pure that it'd be hard to get an interesting story out of her, apart from that she worked hard and won the gold medal, but her dad was a dick. So like you could like, there is that side story where like she had this personal problems that her dad was a coach and also like I don't know the full story.
Yeah, but she also cut him off completely, so like that's not a story anymore. Still,
it's a very hard thing to do, to cut your biological dad off. Like that just must show you how much of an arsehole he was, that your daughter has to sort of say, you've coached me to an Olympic standard and I want nothing to do with you anymore. You're my biological dad, you're the coach that helped me get to a certain standard. You're so much of an arsehole, I don't want to see you anymore. I'm done with you. Yeah, that's a very good point. There could be an interesting story there if they went into more detail about how, like, why, what was his name? Paul Taylor?
That's a great 30 for 30 episode.
Like, it'd be a good episode to watch because there's a happy ending. Pete Taylor. Couldn't get Phil Taylor out of my head anyway.
That'd be a twist. I'd watch that documentary. Oh, great. Yeah, no, there's a lot.
So, at Riley Conlon. Rick, how did you meet Phil?
So, Phil, I'm going to set the context for this story, and if you want to tag in after our first meeting, when I kind of get to that story, if you want to tag in and jump in and add extra content, because I feel like there's two sides to this.
I'll just jump in when you lie.
Yeah, no, there's no lies. There's no lies. No, I can tell this completely.
Well, there's your side of the story and there's my side of the story. So,
and the truth somewhere in the middle.
So I forgot about this story. I genuinely forgot this even happened in my life.
First off, Irish whip with a bunch of bitches. Right? I don't say nothing right, boys. You knew it.
We were the lads. Brilliant. So I forgot about this story until Phil was being interviewed on the Spandex Pantomime a few years ago, and Justy brought up Boyd Rage. And he brought up like that kind of like the funny kind of temper that Phil can have at times. And I'm like, geez, I've never seen Phil like that. And I'm like, and it all came flooding back. And I'm like, the first time I ever saw Phil, he was like that. And then I remember the story, I'm like, oh my God, how have we never told this story? Oh my God, we work with Katie. How does she probably not know this story? And it has a lot of Irish wrestling cameos in there. Okay, so the context of this story, I'll start at the first meeting and then I'll give some background context, okay? So the context is, it was Fibbers, it was Thursday night, €3 drinks, so a lot of drink was had. I know for a fact that I was absolutely twisted. I know this because I was on the downstairs dance floor, which I never went on unless I was polluted drunk and decided that I wanted to chance my arm and see if I could find a female companion for the evening, which I never did down on the dance floor. I can't dance to rock music. I can barely dance to dance music. And then all of a sudden I find someone in my face and then saying the words, apologize. And I'm like, oh, okay. What am I sorry for? Like, what's going on? And I'd never seen this person before. And then I'm like, you know what you did? The fucking promo. And I'm like, right, wrestling, promo. What promo could I have done that upset people? Flashback to a few months beforehand, okay? So at this stage, I was kind of running a lot of the day-to-day in Irish Whip. There was kind of 3 sections to Irish Whip. There was like TV, DVD kind of section, which I wasn't really a part of. Then there was the house show and Jim Moore section. So house show was where we kind of made our money. We did tours around Ireland and stuff like that. And then Jim Moore was where we kind of just like, it was a Jim Moore. It was where we gave trainees a chance. But also, because I was in charge, I used Jim Moore's a lot to like do storylines, because we had the same, it's very similar to the Fight Factory Next Gen shows. We had the same people show up. They knew everyone who was on it. They knew the backstage kind of info. They discussed it on boards and the Irish Whip Wrestling Forum back in the day. So they knew the wrestlers and stuff like that. Now, I was always a fan of watching, in terms of being a fan, I was always a fan of kind of work shoot stuff. Okay, so but no one in this hadn't really been done in Irish wrestling, because it was new to the scene, and the scene itself was new at this stage. So I'd always wanted to use a Jim Moore where the fans knew the wrestlers and knew the backstories behind them and so on, and do a work shoot kind of promo. Now, it wasn't really even a bad promo. The promo was basically, I was a ref. I did an evil ref gimmick, and then I said, I'm sick of all these wrestlers coming out. I've had to be a ref for God knows how long. I've had to watch all these bollocks wrestlers come through Irish Rip Wrestling. And then I decided, and I prepared this promo beforehand, and I picked out names. I'm like, I picked out people who people would know, but also wouldn't really like, they weren't friends of mine, but they weren't like people that I hated, and people who probably wouldn't hear. I just wanted to get a bit of banter going on like boards and Irish Whip, and see how kind of work shoot stuff would work. And I didn't want to ask anyone else to do it, because it was my risky idea. So I'm like, I'll take the heat, because I can stand it if it does go badly. Anyway, it was fine. I picked out 3 wrestlers, 3 random. I can't even remember who it was, but I remember who it wasn't. I picked out 3 wrestlers and said their names, and that was that. The problem that I didn't take into account was we didn't record Jim Moore's. That was the day even before camera phones, so the Jim Moore's were totally unrecorded. So, and also people weren't prepared for me to do a work shoot promo and name names. So by the time I got home from the show that night and got to check boards and so on, every wrestler who'd ever wrestled in Irish Whip Wrestling but didn't wrestle there anymore had got named as a part of that promo. So now they had basically accused me, because they didn't know. They probably didn't realize who I said, because they were just like, they probably just heard me say the names. So they're like, holy shit, who did he just say? What did he just say? Fuck. And there's no recording to prove anything, okay? So cut back to me and Fibbers. And Phil turns around, and it's Phil in front of me, if that's not blatantly obvious right now. Phil turns around and said, you shot on Saudi Alexander Dean, who he'd be known as now. And that was someone that I knew I definitely didn't shoot on, because first off, he was still wrestling. Second off, me and Saudi had, he was the guy who first, like, kind of trained me and took me under his wing. He was my first match. He was someone that I respected as a wrestler. I knew for a fact it wouldn't have been him, because he's someone that I wouldn't have put in that promo, like. So I'm like, I didn't say that. He's like, you fucking did, and you know you did. And I'm like, okay, right, grand, whatever. And I just kind of I fobbed you off, and then like we kind of just went our separate ways, and that was that. I went over to Ballymun Bruiser, who was also there. And I just was telling him, like, my context for this story was, this is a mad thing that's just after happening to me. I'm like, some wrestler, I think some NWA lad just came up to me and threatened me for cutting a promo on Saudi, which I didn't do. And then Kev is like, now this, again, the context of me saying this, and I've become used to this happening in my life, not anymore, he's grown up now, but Kev's reaction was, who are we fighting? And I'm like, we're not fighting anyone, we're not, there's no need for a fight, like, it's just a funny story, like, it's fine, like, nothing happened, I'm not in danger, like, it's fine, it's over, it's finished. And he's like, who are we fucking fighting? Anyway, he recognized Phil. I'm like, the lads are over there, and he's like, which one did it? And I'm like, oh, that lad. And he's like, that's Phil Boyd. He's one of the NWA lads. I'm like, all right, whatever. Anyway, cut to outdoors in Fibbers. Somehow this scenario has now escalated to the point that there's a group of NWA lads on one side and there's a group of Irish Whip Wrestling lads on another side. Danny Deans is slapping himself in the face on one side going, I'll fight for yous, I'll fight for yous. Kev somehow is now in a tank top. I don't know how. I don't remember him wearing a tank top to that. I don't know if he brings a tank top with him for places, but he's now, for some fucking reason, doing dips on a wall. And I'm like, how is this happening? And then, you guys will appreciate this, because this is the most Saudi move you'll ever hear. Walking up to me like nothing had happened whatsoever, walks up to me and he says, how you doing, mate? What's the crack? And then I'm like, you fucking idiot, you fucking arsehole. You start, because here's what I had deduced in the meantime, okay? Because Phil, you wouldn't have known me. It's not as if I was a known name within wrestling. You would have known who I was, okay? How that situation happened is Dean was the one who recognized me, and Dean went to you and pointed out and said, that's the guy who did the promo that he put himself in, even though it didn't happen. And then he walked up to me and said, how you doing? Like nothing had happened whatsoever. And I'm like, you fucking caused this, you fucking maniac. What the fuck are you out there starting? Anyway, this is a bunch of essentially like, okay, there's a lot of tough people in this group, but at the same time, we're all of us, every one of us on both sides, we're all wrestling nerds. So this fight ended in the way that gang wars with wrestling nerds end. We both just walked away in separate directions. Like that was it. Nothing ended up happening. No punches were thrown. We all just walked away in separate, or so we thought. Okay. I don't mean enough time has passed. The statute of limitations has passed, okay? So I think we can tell this part of the story. Because as me and Kev were walking around the corner, I wanted no part in this fight. I don't like fighting. I didn't want any kind of beef. I always hated that interpromotional beef. I didn't want any issue with it. I just wanted it dropped. I just thought it was a funny story that I got started on for a promo that didn't happen. An edited promo of something that did happen. Anyway, me and Kev are walking towards McDonald's, which we always did after Fibbers on a Thursday night, when all of a sudden a gang of like 2-3 people. Phil, I'm not sure if you were in this gang at this stage.
Yeah, I was.
You were there.
I was. Yeah.
So you know how to say. Okay, so right. So what happened was, I think it was Kev and Paddy Morrow ended up agreeing to do a one-on-one, and the rest of us are just standing there at the side, like making sure no one hops in, like, right? It's just a straightener, okay? What ends up happening, though, is they both just boxing shuffle around each other for like a minute. A punch isn't thrown, okay? They're just doing boxing moves at each other, okay? I get bored at this. I know I got bored because I remember looking behind me to where, like, so this is just outside what's now known as Murray's, what was Fraser's once. I got bored with this, okay? So I looked behind me at some stage and I noticed that there was a Garda car driving up in that direction, okay? So picture the position. I'm at the corner of O'Connell Street now, okay? They're fighting outside Murray's. Kev is facing me. Paddy Morrow has his back to me. He's facing him, okay? So I just turn around and I'm like, Kev. The Garda car pulls over. Kev turns around, just drops his hands when he sees the Garda car. Paddy Morrow gets 2 clean ones on him. He smacks him twice hard in the face. I have often imagined what Paddy must have felt, because I've been in a few fights myself, and I know how you know yourself how rare in street fights you get clean shots off, and the elation you feel when you do. So Paddy must have felt that elation, like, I've won the fight, then immediately got tackled by guards. And he's like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, the guards just they weren't arsed with any of this. They could tell that all of us were lying and trying to blame the other side for it. So they're like, lads, just fuck off home. And that was the end of that. That was the time when NWA and Irish Whip Wrestling came to blows. Now, Phil, if you dispute this story in any way, I'd love to hear your side, or if I've got anything mixed up, by all means.
Oh, you got a lot mixed up.
Okay.
So, we're in Fibbers, yeah? And again, we're just have to come from the Wool Shed. We're in the Wool Shed, so we go to Fibbers afterwards. And that's our Thursday night. We do it every Thursday. I mean Wednesday nights, I think, actually. So we're in Fibbers, and again, exactly like you said, someone whispers in my ear, Southie, could have been Kev Rocks, says, see that lad over there? Or I might have read on boards that you had done this promo. And here's the thing before we go into it. All right, like, there'd been a load of sly digs from the Irish Rip side about NWA that they've been saying over boards and all that. Like, so we're annoyed, like, because we're like, you got something to say to us. Well, I didn't like all the snippets. Like, I think the Jim Wars had just happened where Paddy Morrow kicked Dave Zerno in the back.
I think that was
pre or post
that would have been post that when they would have worked together. That's another story for another day. But like when they would have worked together, that would have been after this, timeline wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, there's a lot of things. I'm look. See you, Ma. Bye.
Bye.
See, I'm lovely. I say goodbye to me, Ma. So you have to remember, we're at a time, again, we don't know about independent wrestling, so and all we know about is WWE and WCW, and they're at war, all right? And in fairness, like, I don't know how it was in the Irish Rip side. I know they thought they were the best, and we thought we were the best, and there was no working together. And mainly that came down to Paul Tracy and Simon Rochford. Yeah. Two lads didn't get on. Mm-hmm. We were told to hate Irish Rip. We assume Irish Rip were told to hate NWA. Right? There was things about, like, we got very annoyed when we felt we were disrespected, because we'd be like, you know, man, we'll settle this with our hands, like we like, you want, if you want to prove you're the best, come at us, like, you know what I mean? And anyway, that's a different story. I'm not saying like this was premeditated the first time we bumped into an Irish Rip lad, because we had met them before. The thing about it was we're all there with a few drinks on, and I've definitely had more drinks and handled it better than any of those Irish Rip suckers. Everyone knew they were lightweights, right? So I've had more drinks and I'm handling it better. But yeah, I get whispered in the ear, that's you. And I remember a kerfuffle starts anyway. And it's basically what had happened was Kev Rocks and Sean South at the time had jumped from Irish Rip to NWA. All right, so they were Irish Rip originals. They jumped over, they started training with us. We just started putting them onto shows. Then all of a sudden we hear the second we start putting them on the shows, that you could where the big boys play promo. So basically saying like, oh, they jumped down to like the small promotion because they couldn't hack it here. You know what I mean? They've gone to that shit promotion.
Oh my god! Right, oh my god! You're getting like just the version that you heard is so far from it. Right, go on. That's mad. I love that.
I'm just telling you how it was.
No. I love that. I love it.
Like, so it wasn't even just them. It was the fact that you dissed us as a promotion, as a school. Like, oh yeah, they've gone to that shit promotion in Bray, and like we were just like we were smoking you as lads in the ring. Like,
didn't get said
like, though. Well, we were. Do we have to bring the Frog Splash back? Should we go watch the Frog Splash again?
I'm saying that I didn't disrespect you. I don't know why you're angry at me not disrespecting
you. I'm just telling you, because it's all coming back to me, and emotions are real, all right? So anyway, this happens, and like, yeah, you're right. I said those exact words. I said, you need to apologize. I said, apologize. I said, you've got to apologize to those boys. You have to out them, they're annoyed. Go over and apologize to them, all right? Or something along those lines, all right? And you were like, yeah, you dismissed me, shrugged me off. I remembered grabbing your T-shirt, but I mightn't have. I mightn't have done that. I remember grabbing your T-shirt, like, and either way, so this whole thing kicks off, like, and yeah, I'm just like, I'm furious. All right, you probably what Ballymore Bruiser's saying there, like we're saying about Ballymore Bruiser. He's furious now. Like, the thing about it is, fast forward, Fibbers is just emptied. We're just like, right, let's go outside. If anything kicks off, we kick the bollocks out of these fuckers. Right, so we said we'll walk out. We'll walk all the way up to the centre, the Londis on the corner, and we waited there. We just said we'd stand here. We'll just do nothing. We'll stand here, right?
Were you not there for the Danny Deans part?
It's only me, Paddy Morrow, and Robbie Martin.
Yeah, there was three, as I remember that.
I don't even remember him being there.
Because if you went straight to Londis, then you missed the bit outside. We stood for like a half hour directly outside of Fibbers. That's where Saudi came up to me and was like, "Hey, bud, what's going on?" And I'm like, "What are you acting like nothing happened for? You started this. Like, you made all of this up,
yeah,
and you've made everyone angry."
Like, funny, like, I'm not being funny. Like he definitely instigated it. Like
we know now.
It's just that's typical. That's typical him though, playing all sides. But like anyway. Whatever happens, I don't remember Danny Deans being there. He could have been all like that, and we could have been like, yeah, Danny, look, we'll see you later, right? We got this. Well, like, it's me, Paddy Morrow, and Robbie Morrissey, and we're kind of just standing there. We're saying we're not gonna walk away because it looks like we licked it. It says we'll let Londoners see what happens. All of a sudden, like, we're kind of like, we'll wait for these boys to pass, see if they do anything, because we knew he'd have to come back that way anyway. Right, and you sprinted past us. I mean, you came around the corner in a sprint. I mean, you didn't even look at us. You just fucking sprinted. I've never seen three people run so fast.
Why were we sprinting?
I don't know why
if we didn't know you were there, why would we be sprinting if we didn't know you were there?
I didn't know. I'm just telling you what I saw. You sprinted past, all right? I'm just telling you what I saw.
Okay, I
you
love
sprinted
this.
past, right? And you get up to the corner where the Holiday Inn now is. And then we hear you like shout back something and start laughing.
What?
And that's where we start going, they're the fucking saying something. Right? I just did say something, however, they're saying something. So, of course, we went after you and we met you at the Savoy. And that's where exactly what happened with the Paddy, Ballymun Bruiser, Bam guards coming over. Now, you're saying, like, in a normal street fight, people don't get off shots, but I've never seen anyone get more shots off than Paddy Morrow fighting around Dublin streets at night. But that guy had a trick, all right? He had a great trick, all right? What he used to do was he'd come at you, he'd lift his leg like he's going to kick you, then he'd stamp it in front of you, and while you looked at his foot, he'd come and hit you with his hand. All right? It was a Paddy Morrow signature. Like, if you've seen it once, you'd never get through it again. If you didn't know it was coming, he nailed you on the chin every time, on the eye. Like, the thing that was funniest about that whole thing, all right, was that Ballymun Bruiser definitely did a fucking shame McMahon that night. Like you were saying, they were dancing around. I don't remember Paddy dancing around. I remember Ballymun Bruiser, like, literally Shane McMahon around the street there. Like, he was doing the Shane McMahon, Jimmy. I was like, what is this guy at? Like, I was like, this guy's like skilled or something. Like, but I'm trying to think what your story was. Was there anything that I was like, no, that's not how it went down?
See, I'm not. I don't care. I think all of this was pointless and just like us getting like worked by like, for example, like the point of the promo was that I'd been a ref and I was sick of being a ref and seeing people who'd leave, but like there was no reason for me to take a dig at NWA, because for a start, like, we had no issue with you. Like, it wasn't a thing in our kind of side. Like, I know it makes sense now, your attitude towards us, where it was like you were kind of bred to hate us. Like, I get that now. And like, originally it was positioned as, oh, they're only jealous of you or something like that, don't mind them. That was kind of the attitude we have, where we're like, I don't know why these lads are really aggressive towards us, but they are. And that's kind of where we kind of came from with it. So I would have had no reason to kind of have a dig at you, because I didn't know and I didn't care about any other kind of promotion. Like, I didn't have a beef with you because we were told.
Are you sure you were pre Dave Zero? Were you not post Dave Zero?
No, I would have been around when Dave Zero. I was reffing the match the Abs kicked him.
I just remember Dave Zero being a dick. That's the main thing about Irish Rip. I remember this scrawny, skinny guy, right?
We can agree on that.
I apologise. I'm just telling you what I saw. Right? And he was just an arsehole. Like, he was a fucking arsehole. Like, and I just remember him like, who are you to like call us out? Like, we'll back to you. Like,
so,
like, don't like.
There's a lot of stuff that if we just talked, like, we'd have agreed on. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'll say on Dave Zero. There's a lot of stuff that if we sat down and had a conversation, we would have agreed on the same things, Dave Zero included. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us felt the same. Like, so a lot of us weren't that upset when he got kicked.
There's so much, like, the difference in time, though. Like, you know what I mean? And you have to remember we were kids, and to me,
we were kids.
It was no worse than. There was no worse than I used to play for Finbars and Cabra. It was no worse than going out to Erin's Isle and Finglas for the GA match. Like, they were the rival team. Like, if we went out to Erin's Isle, we were preparing to kick lumps out of each other. You know what I mean? Like, you don't lose to your rivals, and that's it. And that's what yous were. Like, the wrestling was only Ireland. Like, there was no UK outlet. Like, we got to do Hammerlock shows, but like, there wasn't any like European, like, oh, let's all work together and get out of this place, or let's work together and build up the Irish scene. Like, we all matured later and that worked. But like, at the time, basically, we're getting told every Sunday that we had a punch bag. We had a punch bag called Simon. Like, Paul Tracy named us Simon. Like, we were to beat a punch bag named Simon after Simon Rochfield, and that's the mentality was bred.
Oh, that's
so I don't breed it now. Like, I breed like, right, guys.
No, you don't.
You know what I mean? Wrestling's a worldwide thing. Sure, look at us now.
Yeah.
Look at us now on a podcast together.
Yeah, telling stories about it. Like, I find it all hilarious. Go ahead.
But it's just so that's the first time me and Rick met.
I can't believe I've had a podcast for like 8-9 years and sat on that story the entire time. To be fair, I only remembered it about 2 years ago. But yeah, pretty fucking epic. I love it. There's one thing that I can prove wrong though, okay? I can prove how we weren't sprinting. Have you ever seen Ballymun Bruiser sprint? You would have made a note of watching him sprint if you'd have seen him. You would have said that was not sprinting. You would not have in any case ever said Ballymun Bruiser.
You shot by us. You shot by
Ballymun Bruiser. Ballymun Bruiser has never in his life shot by anyone. That dude cannot sprint. I love him, but he hasn't, and he'd say the same himself. I don't know. Here, look, it's just a funny story. It reminds me of that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they're all telling the same story, except the details are slightly changed in every story. So I love it. Fantastic.
But my version is right. And I'll fight you for that, I swear to God.
I'll apologise, for fuck's sake. Sorry, Alexander Dean. Are you happy now? Oh, brilliant.
Well,
here we go.
Are we ready for the main event?
I'm ready to sit back and have a smoke.
Right.
Keane, this is all you.
Thank you for the question, Conlon, by the way. But our final question comes in at Stay Safe Rovers from Declan Byrne. I'm sending in my question early to give you a week in advance. This, I mean, you might as well have sent it yesterday because I stayed up till fucking 2 a.m. planning this out, right? So, RTE has set up a wrestling... they've set up a tag team wrestling tournament, and if it's a success, every Irish wrestling company will have a deal with an RTE show. Fantasy book the tournament and name the tag belts the winners get. The winners get in the tournament, right? And the teams are... Declan basically gave us the teams. There's 12 teams in total, and the teams are here. Let me find it. Okay.
Love this,
Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger. Logan Bryce and Johnny Sexton, Alexander Dean and Denny Corcoran, Bowes player, for those of you that don't know, Be Cool and Martin King, Katie Harvey and Rihanna, Scotty Davis and Willow from Home and Away. Not quite too familiar with who that is, but we'll go with it. Debbie Keitel and Leanne Kiernan, Seshwant Martina and Katie McCabe, Phil Boyd and Vincent Company, Michael May and Sylvester Stallone, CBL and Marty Morrissey, and Justy and Mr. Bean. So those are the 12 teams. The way I've done this is we have a regular tournament, first round knockout. We have a regular tournament.
Willow from Home and Away, not even Necker's name.
And so the first round's knockout, second round's knockout, and the final, because it's an awkward number, he's going with 12. We'll do an elimination 3-way in the final with whoever makes it, right? So match number 1 in the first round. All right, let's go. Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger versus Logan Bryce and Johnny Sexton. It's football versus rugby, and we get the stare down of stare downs as Terry Thatcher and Logan Bryce stare each other down. It's a stare down that initially only appeals to Declan, but because it's so tense and, you know, it kind of builds up, everyone else gets invested then the longer the stare down goes on. And then they have a war. And long story short, Johnny Sexton gets battered by Greg Bolger. Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger are through, yeah?
Of course.
Okay. Match number 2, Alexander Dean and Denny Corcoran against Be Cool and Martin King. Be Cool is a tag team specialist. He has teamed with the Gymnasts. He's winning fucking OTT tag title gold. He's won Irish tag team title gold in Fight Factory with the Angel Cruisers. So Be Cool, they are the favorite. Be Cool and Martin King, you would expect to get along great, except Alexander Dean and Denny Corcoran, what they have in common is bows. They represent Bohemian Football Club. That is the whole point of the team. What Be Cool doesn't prepare for is a betrayal. Because I googled Martin King. Guess what football team he supports?
No.
Yes, you can Google it. It's a fact.
No.
Martin King is a Bowes fan. So Martin King turns on Be Cool. Alexander Dean and Denny Corcoran get the win. They go through to the second round.
I wonder if Deco knew that. I wonder if Deco was throwing that out there for that.
I think he did it completely at random, but there you go, Declan. Fun fact of the day. I did my research. We get to match number 3. Katie Harvey and Rihanna against Scotty Davis and Willow from Home and Away. We're going to add the stakes. This isn't just a knockout match, right? In order... I would love to bury Katie in the first round and just knock them out of the competition, right? But I think you have to think about the fans here, right? There's more than just me. So... we're going to make this an NLW title match, right?
Ooh.
We're making this an NLW title match. And if Katie pins Scotty or if Rihanna pins Scotty, they win the NLW title. Katie does not pin Scotty. Rihanna pins Scotty Davis. And they work together. They work together. Because if they don't work together, they don't go through to tournaments. So they're not going to pull each other away from the pin and break up the pin. So Katie lets Rihanna pin Scotty. Rihanna is a new NLW champion. And Katie Harvey and Rihanna are into round 2. Match number 4. Debbie Keitel and Leanne Kiernan against Seshma Martina and Katie McCabe. And with this one, again, we get another Thatcher Bryce stare down, but this time with Leanne Kiernan and Katie McCabe. Again, it's one that Declan cares about more than probably the average person, but it's so tense that everyone else gets invested. And in the end, Martina and her cans cost the team. Debbie Keitel and Leanne Kiernan work together to achieve the goal they don't want to achieve, and they are through to the second round. Match number 5. Okay, Phil Boyd and Vincent Company taking on Michael May and Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, the worst.
Vincent Company says, you know what? I'll step aside. I'll let you do what you have to do. Sylvester Stallone says, you know what, Michael? I'm going to step aside. I'm going to let you do what you have to do. And we get a shoot fight between Phil Boyd and Michael May that ends after 4 hours. Phil Boyd and Vincent Company getting the win there, going through to round number 2. And now the final match of round 1. CBL and Marty Morrissey, a coaching coalition, taking on Justy and Mr. Bean. I don't really know how this match goes. I have the result. The result is it's a dream team, but they are not the team that get the victory. CBL and Marty Morrissey win. Mr. Bean doesn't talk. Verbally communicating with him would be a bit of an issue. Yeah. So I'd imagine there was a communication breakdown, and that's how CBL and Marty Morrissey get into the second round.
I can imagine Justy getting very frustrated. Justy would get very frustrated.
Yeah. Exactly. And now we're in round 2. There's 3 matches in round 2 to decide who gets to the final. Match number 1. Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger versus Alexander Dean and Denny Corcoran. Rovers versus Bows. Oh. And Rovers smacked them round. They wiped them. Battered them round. Unlucky Phil. Unlucky Katie. Unlucky Danny Bows fans. Listen, unlucky to Sean McGovern. They get battered. I'm sorry.
3-0. 3 count.
Yeah, 3-0. 3-0. That's the rage number. Yeah.
Unexpected.
Bolger hat trick. Terry Thatcher just whips them in, and Greg Bolger header. You know how it is. So Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger are in the final. Match number 2 in round 2. Katie Harvey and Rihanna, the NLW champion Rihanna, taking on Debbie Keitel and Leanne Kiernan. Can I fight the temptation to bury Katie and eliminate her from this round? Yeah, I can, right? There's a lot of history with Katie Harvey and Debbie. I'll admit that, right? It's an engaging match. It's a match people want to see. So in the end, Rihanna pins Debbie Keitel and carries Katie again to another victory. And Katie Harvey and Rihanna are in the final.
I'm all right with being carried. I just want to point that out.
Okay, well, you're in the final, so congratulations.
Like decent, yeah.
Phil Boyd and Vincent Company have to beat CBL and Marty Morrissey to get into the final. Can they do it? That is the question. Phil says, you know what? I'm gonna let Vincent take this one because I took the last one. CBL says, you know what? Marty Morrissey, I'm gonna step to the side and let you take this one, right? Because Vincent Kompany has a massive, massive forehead. Marty Morrissey has a massive, massive forehead. So basically, they headbutt each other. They just headbutt each other non-stop. Just headbutt until one of them falls. It's like a mutual agreement. They all agree. Whoever's the last man standing here, they get to go through. Vincent Kompany headbutt, one final headbutt to Marty Morrissey. And Marty Morrissey goes down. Phil Boyd and Vincent Kompany go through to the final. So we're in the final, right?
Oh, shit.
Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger make their entrance. Katie Harvey and Rihanna make their entrance. Rihanna puts the NLW title on the table next to them as they make their entrance. Phil Boyd and Vincent Kompany make their entrance. And lads, we have an elimination triple threat final. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, basically a temporary alliance forms. Because that's usually what happens in triple threats and fatal four ways. And basically, Thatcher and Bolger work together with Katie and Rihanna to sort of not eliminate Phil and Kompany, but basically throw them out of the ring. Just sort of just to get them out of the match temporarily, turn it into a tag match. You know, see who can get the upper hand.
Can I just say, Phil and Kompany is a great tag team name. Do you know what I mean? You can have a stable name, Phil and Kompany. Like brilliant. I'm all over this.
So, Katie and Rihanna are now getting the upper hand on Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger. It's not looking great. But all of a sudden, Corporate Kid hops the barricade, hops into the ring, grabs the NLW title that was resting on the table, hits Katie Harvey in the back. Vincent Kompany gets into the ring, spears Rihanna. Greg Bolger sees that Katie's head is now resting just above the title, and then curb stomps Katie Harvey. 1, 2, 3. Katie Harvey and Rihanna have been eliminated.
Oh, shit.
So we are down we are down to the final two teams, right? Greg Bolger immediately turns his attention to Vincent Kompany and wipes him out. DDT, spear, whatever he has to do, just beats the fuck out of Vincent Kompany. Make sure that he's out. He is out. He is incapacitated. But then Phil Boyd runs in, and in Phil Boyd fashion, catches Greg Bolger with just a transitional Canadian destroyer just to wipe him clean out. Greg Bolger is wiped out, and now the only two men standing in the final of this tournament, Terry Thatcher and Phil Boyd. And Terry Thatcher sees this, he's like, I need to get Phil Boyd. He goes for a dropkick. Phil Boyd moves out of the way, and Terry Thatcher takes out his blood relative, Foxy. He takes out the ref. The ref is down. And Phil Boyd's like, ha, gotcha, dickhead. And he's like, I need to do this. I need this RTE TV deal. I need these titles. He is going to put an end to Terry Thatcher. He's not going for a small package. He's going for a pile driver. He's going to break Terry Thatcher's neck. He grabs him, lifts him straight up. He's about to do it when something hits Phil in the side of the head. And he's like, what the fuck was that? And he looks down on the canvas and he sees a €1 coin. Oh. And he's like, and he turns around and he sees Daniel Manning sitting there, laughing his arse off, looking at Phil Boyd. Phil sees this and he gets Vietnam flashbacks, PTSD, the helicopters, they're going off in his head. All of a sudden you see him start to shake, you see him start to get really angry. And we see it live and in person. It's Boyd rage. And he turns to Dan Manning. He's like, fuck you, Dan. Fuck you. I'm going to break your fucking... I'm going to get my hands on you. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Dan, you are fucked. You are done. You're so fucked. And then as he's ripping into Daniel Manning in the corner, he's going crazy at him. He doesn't realize behind him, Terry Thatcher has already taken the straps down. He's already screamed, brace yourself, and runs at Phil Boyd. Detachment goes for the cover. There's no ref. Ref. Foxy's down. What do we do? But all of a sudden we just hear, want you to make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world. Who would have Rihanna as their theme music? None other than Declan Byrne himself.
Oh, shit.
Sprints down to the ring, slides into the ring. 1, 2, 3. Terry Thatcher and Greg Bolger have done it. They have won the tournament. They don't have a name for. They are the new champions. And everybody, I believe, after that tournament, everybody gets a TV deal with RTE.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm sold. I'll watch the shit out of that.
I don't know if I'm wrestling star or what, but that's like the best tournament ever.
Yeah, nailed it.
I'm just so angry that now Terry Thatcher and Declan Byrne are on my list of people that I have to get.
They haven't even done anything.
Oh, man. I mean, it's just like that. Like it took an hour. I saw the question. I'm like, right, I might throw something together. I'll think about it. But when I saw the amount of effort that can put into the teams, I'm like, Jesus, some of these teams are legit, like really good. Like, fuck, I might. Yeah, I don't know. And I end up spending up until 2 a.m. putting this together. So
worth it.
You're welcome, Declan.
Fantastic work.
And,
Fantastic.
Bye.